Chapter 827. Dragon Roar Wave in 4 colors. I'm sorry, but I'll take care of this battle. The star wings in Yun Shi's hand kept making sweet sword sounds. It is a call and a temptation, which tempts Yun Shi to open the door of taboo again and release the power from the other side of the galaxy, even from the other side of time and space. Clearly know that this is not possible, but Yun Shi still can't help but not use it. This is probably the most contradictory place. The will of the stars sent the star wings, one of the 3 strongest swords at the top of the starry sky, to Yun Shi's hand, but he didn't control the power of this divine sword at all, which had to be said to be a very helpless thing. Hey, why did Black Dragon Zaka suddenly have that attribute? Desert Dragon Zaka is very depressed. This couldn't be called a battle at all. Because our mothers will dominated her and made her exceed her own limit, she is not completely Black Dragon Zaka now. Ice Dragon Zaka said the reason for this situation. Even so, we can only continue to fight. Red Dragon Zaka bit her lips. As the strongest core of the 3 Dragons Alliance, she was most severely suppressed by Black Dragon Zaka's anti-dragon attribute. The blow of the Black Giant Sword even broke her Crimson Dragon Roar Wave from the front. If it weren't for the strike of Yun Shi's star wings and the divine crimson light that broke the 70% structure of the Black Giant Sword, the 3 Dragon Alliance would have been killed by that sword. This is not the power of Black Dragon Zaka. The original god weapon she held is a nightmare heart with devouring the world as the core. Turning herself into a black dragon and devouring the world is the biggest feature of this god weapon. Although Yun Shi doesn't want to admit it, the Sword of Darkness just now indeed has the power of the great original dragon and the will of their mother. After discovering this, the morale of the 3 Dragons Alliance was reduced, because they were conceived by the original dragon, and they could not defeat their mother. Even the most belligerent Desert Dragon Zaka could not violate this principle. Only one person could do this. Therefore, Yun Shi will bear this responsibility. Here, he is the only one who can really fight against the original dragon will. From the beginning, this is the destiny that's doomed. The final stage of this battlefield doesn't belong to the Zakas of the 3 Dragons Alliance, nor does it belong to the Black Dragon Zaka, which has evolved a posture of devouring the world. Once again, lend me all your strength this time. Yun Shi grasped his star wings and made a decision. This time, he is not fighting alone. If you want to win, you must gather all your strength. Okay, everything is up to you. Desert Dragon Zaka came to Yun Shi and pressed his left shoulder. When our mother wakes up, she will be angry. Ice Dragon Zaka came behind Yun Shi and pressed his right shoulder. This is the last and the most brilliant. Red Dragon Zaka took the initiative to stand in the arms of Yun Shi, and the 2 raised their hands together. Look, the sky is burning. Our sandstorm is blowing. Blizzard, come forth. The silvery white light points shine again on Yun Shi's fingertips, and the 3 colorless and transparent spiral lines are dyed with different colors. Desert Dragon Zaka's wild gravel color. Ice Dragon Zaka's calm and restrained ice and snow color. Red Dragon Zaka's ebullient flame color. This is a combination skill with a scale of 4 people, integrating the strongest brilliance of 4 Dragon Roar waves. Perhaps because of their skin relatives, Yun Shi accepted the dragon attribute power of Desert Dragon Zaka and Ice Dragon Zaka effortlessly, and was almost unhindered when integrating into the divine light. It seems that he is naturally good at combining the forces of different attributes. After the final fusion, the holy light showed a constantly changing beautiful posture, with the silver spiral light point as the top and 3 different colors of spiral lines, instantly locking the Black Dragon Zaka. It's still the familiar sweet honey, and even a little more pafu-pafu flavor, which caused special damage to the twin witches in his camp before he took action. On Black Dragon Zaka's side, she was hit by Holy Light X3. 3 treasure beads emerged at the same time, once again forming the demon sword that once appeared on the 3rd floor of Assyria. The 4-colored holy light shows the 4 attributes of frost, dust, fire, and holiness. The demon sword in the hands of Black Dragon Zaka also shows frost, dust, nightmare, and special anti-dragon attributes. Back in the hands of Black Dragon Zaka, the 3 treasure beads released enough aura to destroy the sky and the earth. Inlaid with the disk of treasure beads, a large number of runes emerged, which are words interpreting the essence of the rules world. Sharp, tough, defenseless, cannot avoid, multiple crushing, crush, armor break. With each additional rune, the destructive smell released by Demon Sword will increase by 1 point. Even in the face of the 4-color Dragon Roar wave jointly displayed by the 3 Dragons Alliance and Yun Shi, it is not inferior. Both sides have shown the power to dominate some of the world's rules. Buzz. The rotating demon sword stirred the surroundings like longing for blood and killing, creating a huge black vortex around Black Dragon Zaka. That is what appears on the golden scale of the Twin Witches, representing the essence of Black Dragon Zaka at the moment. Sweep over everything, destroy everything. Devour everything, destroy everything. Unstoppable, like the footsteps of the world collapsing. Black Dragon Zaka's aura suddenly changed. It was an absolute focus, which Yun Shi was very familiar with. Why does Black Dragon Zaka have such an aura? Yun Shi, with the 4-color Dragon Roar wave and the 3 Dragons Alliance, fiercely hit Black Dragon Zaka. If we don't succeed, we will die. This is Yun Shi's decision. There is no possibility of a long-term war. In the face of Black Dragon Zaka, who has devoured a world, any tactic that wants to drag it down is ridiculous. Without the protection of the golden balance of the Twin Witches, the world would have collapsed. This is the truth Yun Shi realized when he entered this battlefield. This war can only be won. There is no other way but to win. However, in the next second, Black Dragon Zaka's posture made Yun Shi's back suddenly feel chill. The supremacy of heaven and the world. Supercilious and transcendent. In the next second, the sharp sword light cut off all the brilliance flying in the sky, calling for a bloodbath. Yun Shi has seen and felt such a sword light before. The 4-color light runs through the body of Black Dragon Zaka, and the sword light that cuts everything also cuts the 4-color light. 4 beads appeared in the sky at the same time, and the last lost bead also appeared. This represents the fall of Red Dragon Zaka. The veritable sword of dragon killing really doesn't look like a sword skill that the speechless Black Dragon Zaka can use. She doesn't look like the person who would kill her sisters. But I won't regret it. Red Dragon Zaka slowly closed her eyes and gently told Yun Shi, "Only with you, I won't regret it. Returning to the embrace of the original Dragon Mother is probably our destination. We were all her children." The green flowers left the heart of Red Dragon Zaka and returned to the fingertips of Yun Shi. Sigh, even if I have to die, I have to die with glory. Desert Dragon Zaka stood on tiptoe and kissed Yun Shi on the cheek. Goodbye, my playboy. Ice Dragon Zaka also learned from her sister and kissed Yun Shi on the cheek. Obviously, they weren't hit by Black Dragon Zaka's sword. Desert Dragon Zaka and Ice Dragon Zaka were both dead together with Red Dragon Zaka. The bodies of the 3 people began to turn into light spots of different colors, as if summoned by something, and flew towards the treasure beads suspended in the sky. It was indeed a call from the original dragon, but a call of death. Am I alone again? Looking at the green flower at his fingertips, Yun Shi looked at the 3 dragons, which turned into light spots and disappeared with sad eyes. No. It's not just the 3 dragons that have disappeared. The body of Black Dragon Zaka, whose mask was shattered by the 4-color Dragon Roar wave, was also disappearing. This is... Yun Shi suddenly raised her head and looked at the 4 treasure beads in the sky. Desert Dragon Zaka's Dust Treasure Bead. Ice Dragon Zaka's Ice Treasure Bead. Red Dragon Zaka's Fire Treasure Bead. Black Dragon Zaka's Nightmare Treasure Bead. The 4 Zaka sisters have all turned to dust and died together. Finally, Yun Shi and the 3 dragons jointly performed the ultimate combination skill, which was not ineffective. They did help him defeat the strongest Black Dragon Zaka at the end. Zakas returned to where they come from. The 4 treasure beads are their incarnations. So, who is in front of him now? Don't be careless, Prince. The battle is not over. White Lotus looked at the golden balance in her hand, and the heart of the red dragon and the black vortex disappeared at the same time. Instead, there are 2 chips to judge the ultimate fate of the world. Instead of the heart of the red dragon, the king with a sword appeared at the left end of the scale. Instead of the black vortex, the emerald dragon shadow appeared at the right end of the balance. The sleeping primal dragon was waking up. Black Dragon Zaka's young body started growing, and the once shattered black mask was replaced by a new emerald-colored mask. The real final battle began after the return of the Zaka sisters. Yun Shi finally facing the ultimate evil of the world, which is also the strongest ultimate creature, the original dragon. Under the emerald mask, a chilling smile appeared, which was a dangerous smile of, "I finally caught you, and how can you escape now?" Yun Shi has never felt such a sense of oppression, which is a fatal threat that even the heart will stagnate. Yun Shi has no doubt that the waking original dragon has the strength to crush him. At the same time, in Yun Shi's mind, a task suddenly began to shine, as if it was reminding Yun Shi of something. Optional Branch 4. Find the hidden secret treasure of the evil dragon. Dragon's secret treasure? What's that? Yun Shi looked at the prompt that suddenly appeared, and his heart moved. He looked up and saw 4 treasure beads floating in the sky. They are the treasure beads representing Desert Dragon Zaka, Ice Dragon Zaka, Red Dragon Zaka, and Black Dragon Zaka, respectively. Although they died, they didn't disappear, but continued to exist there in this way. Born from the original dragon will, they will become the strongest weapons of the original dragon, which is their essence. Is the so-called secret treasure of the dragon? The strongest black mark on Yun Shi's hand suddenly started to heat up. Are you making a sound to me? Finally, Black Dragon Zaka. Yes, the anger of our mother is unstoppable. She will destroy the world. If you really want to save the world, use us. We made a choice. Yun Shi's heartbeat began to accelerate unprecedentedly. If the world has been surrounded by endless darkness, the voice echoing in his ears at the moment is the final salvation. Confess to me, fool. Confess to me, playboy. Confess to me, liar. Confess. What is it? The voices of the 4 Zaka sisters echoed in Yun Shi's mind at the same time, just as they were still alive. Ah, I see. The most precious secret treasure of the evil dragon is you. Chapter 828. Secret Treasure of the Dragon. Part 2. I like you, Desert Dragon Zaka. You are the storm of hot sand, my 3rd princess. I like you, Ice Dragon Zaka. You are the queen of ice and snow, my 4th princess. I like you, Red Dragon Zaka. You are the burning flame, my 5th princess. I like you, Black Dragon Zaka. You are the mysterious unknown, my 6th princess. If you can, marry me, great Zakas. Yun Shi stretched out his hand, and the world extended infinitely between his fingers, confession to the 4 Zaka sisters at the same time. They are sisters who will not be separated. As long as you like one person, you will naturally like all of them, which seems to be destined. Therefore, what they ask is we, which is what they desire. We are Zaka sisters, the great Zaka sisters. Desert Dragon Zaka triumphantly responded. We are Zaka sisters, the wise Zaka sisters. Ice Dragon Zaka responded with a smile. We are Zaka sisters, the fighting Zaka sisters. Red Dragon Zaka's enthusiasm remained the same. We are Zaka sisters, the mysterious Zaka sisters. Black Dragon Zaka's voice was a little low. Zaka sisters will never be defeated. Zaka sisters will go forward. Zaka sisters will win every battle. Zaka sisters won't regret their choice. Yun Shi can't tell who is who, because the voices of the 4 sisters have been mixed together. On the ground, the original giant dragon wearing an emerald mask stretched out her hand and began to call on the 4 beads in the sky. It was an absolute order from the original dragon will, a compulsory order for the 4 sisters. However, this time, the 4 Zaka sisters resisted the original dragon's instructions together, and the 4 Zaka sisters made the same choice. The 4 treasure beads gathered together flew to Yun Shi at the same time, releasing the breath of the 4 Zaka sisters. The dragon on the ground was stunned. Suddenly, her murderous intent rose to the sky as she glared at Yun Shi, who had been favored by the 4 Zaka sisters. Ah, what a wonderful scene! White Lotus looked at the golden balance that instantly recovered the balance, covering her small mouth. "It's shameless." Red Lotus said that the man over there was hopeless. Desert field. The four sand eyes appeared again, bigger than ever, and the wind of hot sand released was more violent. Ice mirror array. More and denser ice mirrors emerged around Yunshi, launching an unprecedented large array. Dragon roar wave. The deep red dragon roar wave spread and roared, making the earth completely dyed red. Nightmare. Once again, a huge dark dragon shadow appeared, but this time the dragon that devoured the world became the support of Yunshi, the strongest help from Black Dragon Zaka. At this moment, Yunshi felt that the star wings in his hand seemed to release a certain sense of elation. Illusion? It's an illusion. All the branch missions of the Dragon War were marked with completion one by one. At this moment, Yunshi stood at the top of the world and raised the star wings in his hands under the gaze of the twin witches. The four Zaka sisters, who betrayed their mother, floated beside him at the same time and completely ignored the compulsory combination order from their mother. Hiss. Huh. The original dragon with its head askew seemed to be in a state of extreme doubt and stretched out its hand again to issue a recall order to the four Zaka sisters. "Sorry, I want to be here. I can't go back. Sorry, Mother. Mom, I'm out of order." At the same time, the four sisters rejected the call from the original dragon and danced around Yunshi of their own will. The original dragon's killing intent began to increase at an unusual rate. Anger, disappointment, or both. The green light surrounded the original dragon's body. She once again closed her index finger and middle finger together, and a huge emerald sword began to take shape behind her. At the moment of the formation of this huge sword, the golden balance began to shake violently, as if the fate of the world was about to encounter the final judgment. "No, my mother is going to destroy the world." Attack. Once again, the strongest dragon roar wave. What is a combination skill? The voices of the four Zaka sisters suddenly became tense, and the four treasure beads all wrapped around Yunshi, and then entered Yunshi's body. Yunshi's left hand was occupied by Desert Dragon Zaka. Yunshi's right hand was occupied by Ice Dragon Zaka. Yunshi's heart was occupied by Red Dragon Zaka. Yunshi's forehead was occupied by Black Dragon Zaka. The Black Dragon, which devoured the world, began to roar. Zakas, the strongest forces that once overwhelmed Yunshi, became the strongest foreign aid. With all the power, Yunshi can feel the will of the four Zaka sisters. The sacred silver light points were flying at Yunshi's fingertips and cheering. "The sand blown from the horizon is the proof of our love." Desert Dragon Zaka began to boldly confess. "The permanent ice and snow at the end of the world is a witness. Look, the sky is burning. This is the strongest flame of the Red Dragon Queen. Eyes in the dark, staring at you." Yunshi raised the star wings in his hand, and endless brilliance fell, which was the care of the stars. The original dragon's finger fell coldly. It was the final judgment of the fate of the world. Between heaven and earth, endless brilliance and green giant swords crisscross, explode, and sublimate. It's like what it was when it was being praised at the beginning of the world. Chapter 8:29. The power of the Black Dragon. The Black Dragon's shadow covered heaven and earth, releasing a breath that frightened all things. Black Dragon Zaka, once the strongest enemy in front of Yunshi, was now his greatest help. After the sacred silver-white light spot, it was constantly rotating lines of four different colors. Desert Dragon Zaka's gravel color. Ice Dragon Zaka's frost color. Red Dragon Zaka's flame color. Black Dragon Zaka's nightmare color. This time, it was the real ultimate dragon roar wave. The three primary colors of red, yellow, and blue plus black and white can deduce 10,000 colors. This was Yunshi's holy dragon roar wave. Every second, there were endless colors flying around Yunshi, along with the songs of Zaka, fighting side by side with Yunshi. Yunshi, who wields 4 treasure beads, has the qualification and strength. Desert Dragon Zaka's treasure bead gives him the power of gravel. Ice Dragon Zaka's treasure bead gives him the power of frost. Red Dragon Zaka's treasure bead gives him the power of fire, and Black Dragon Zaka's treasure bead gives him the power of nightmare. Instead of becoming the supreme sword of the original dragon, the world's most powerful dragon treasures chose Yunshi, betrayed their mother, and came to him. The Dragon Roar Wave, which has unlimited energy and the power of devouring the world, will not disappear. It's like the incarnation of the four Zaka sisters, and will be with Yunshi forever. The Dragon Roar Wave danced between heaven and earth, turning into a rotating spiral blade and hitting the emerald sword of the original dragon, destroying the sword that would have been composed of them over and over again, making the original dragon's anger rise constantly. This is the trace and proof of the existence of the Zaka sisters, and also a signal of their love for Yunshi. The emerald-colored giant sword fell and bombarded the Dragon Roar Wave. Each of its attacks had overwhelming power, tearing apart heaven and earth. It's impossible to imagine how powerful the sword the original dragon wielded would be if she held the perfect original god weapon composed of 4 treasure beads at this moment. It may be nothing more than exaggeration to describe it as groundbreaking. She can feel the surging power in his body, which was completely controlled by himself, making his body seem to be burning. The Zaka sisters told her in this way that even if their flesh and blood disappeared, they would be with him and fight side by side. Tears welled up in his eyes as he felt gratitude towards the Zaka sisters who gambled everything. They knew that if he won, they would disappear with the original dragon, but they still made a choice. Therefore, he will bear all of them and fight. The Star of the Sand. Pointing the star wings to the sky, Yunshi launched the ultimate skill of Desert Dragon Zaka, summoning a star that can destroy the world. The star, composed of endless gravel, appeared in the sky, and then began to fall rapidly. For sand eyes surrounded the star, summoning more gravel to make the star composed of gravel more huge. The original dragon raised her hand, and the green giant sword behind her instantly began to cut the star of the sand. It seems that it is almost as difficult for her to cut open the star that fell to the ground as it was for her to cut an apple. Frozen for thousands of miles, trio. Yunshi released 3 forbidden spells without stopping. The snow line spread instantly on the earth, and the 10,000-year-old ice and snow turned into ice rings, froze everything, and everywhere you saw a vast white expanse, pure white without any impurities. Let the world become pure and white. The battlefield turned white. The green halo around the original dragon spread and was not affected by the ice. The extremely low temperature seemed to be just a breeze blowing across her face. Look, the sky is burning. She stood up his index finger and middle finger and pointed to the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7 flame meteors formed in the sky, and then countless fire clouds began to boil, like magma bubbles under the ground. The original dragon looked dismissively at the burning clouds that began to boil, opened her small mouth, and spit out a jade dragon's breath. Before the 7 flame meteors began to fall, they were transformed into nothingness by the spreading emerald dragon's breath, as if they had been completely decomposed. Strong, hopelessly strong. She couldn't even figure out the real strength of the original dragon in front of him. It seems that she hasn't been serious since she came on stage. My mother, in fact, is still asleep. It's just her anger. A slightly hoarse, low voice came from his ears, which was the murmur of Black Dragon Zaka, the most powerful of the 4 Zaka sisters and the least familiar to Yunshi. As the strongest Zaka who was once dominated by the original dragon, she is the only one of the 4 Zaka sisters who has really touched that kind of will. If you can calm our mother's anger, maybe you can save the world. I know she is angry, but why? She asked the youngest Zaka who was whispering in his ear. That's because she had nightmares. Black Dragon Zaka couldn't understand what was going on. It was too difficult for her to understand why the great original dragon mother was angry. That gnashing of teeth and bitter hatred seemed to be only aimed at one person. Considering that there is only one human being in the world who can resist the original dragon, the answer seems not difficult to reason. It was none other than the prince who caused the original dragon's anger. You are mother's nightmare. After reaching this conclusion, Black Dragon Zaka's voice suddenly became silent. I know. My mother's hatred must be on you. The reason, maybe you can guess? I'll tell you the truth. Who let you not even let go of the youngest sister Black Dragon Zaka? In his mind, the three dragons came together again. It seemed that even if they lost their flesh, their contempt for Yunshi would remain unchanged for 10,000 years. Chapter 829. The Power of the Black Dragon, Part 2. I'm still young. I don't understand. The timid black dragon Zaka looked at the noisy sisters in confusion. It doesn't matter if you don't know. You're the only one of our sisters who hasn't been poisoned by him. Sister, don't believe what this liar says in the future. This is a true playboy. Despite such complaints and contempt, Black Dragon Zaka can feel the heartfelt joy and happiness of her sisters. Can I do the same? Can I do the same thing as my sisters? If I can do anything, then I am willing to take action. If it's this person, it's okay. This time, Yunshi instantly felt the fluctuation from Black Dragon Zaka. The dark smell of terror was spreading from his forehead, which was the unique strength of Black Dragon Zaka. If one of the four Zaka sisters can really pose a threat to the original giant dragon, it is Black Dragon Zaka, who evolved to the Dragon of World Devouring. Strong as the original giant dragon, it first came to the world with the help of Black Dragon Zaka's power. Even because of Black Dragon Zaka's betrayal, her body structure has not been completed yet. Black Dragon Zaka is the strongest weapon in the original giant dragon's hand, the dark blade that destroys the world. At the same time, she is undoubtedly the most powerful of the four treasure beads obtained by Yunshi. The only problem is that Yunshi is not used to using the power of Black Dragon Zaka. Having skin relatives with the three dragons, he can skillfully use Desert Dragon Zaka, Ice Dragon Zaka, and Red Dragon Zaka's powers, but he can't mobilize Black Dragon Zaka's power, because he doesn't know how to use this power. Even for this reason, the black part of the flying dragon roar wave is the least, which is a flaw caused by insufficient proficiency. Except for the red, blue, and yellow of the three primary colors, black should have been the corresponding color with the strongest attribute woven with the sacred silver white, but the dragon roar wave didn't evolve such a formula. Tell me, what do my sisters know, but I don't know? With curious pupils, the black dragon asked Yunshi about THR things, not in heritage memory. The initial memory of the four Zaka sisters is similar, which is the knowledge and wisdom from the great original dragon mother. When they were still in the egg, they were all similar individuals, but their personalities were slightly different because of the difference in attributes. However, as they broke their shells and left the nest of the dragon, they had a different life and a different destiny. The last-born Black Dragon Zaka was forcibly catalyzed by the original dragon and completed the great cause of devouring the world, and then met her sisters. Unlike what she imagined, her sisters didn't die but lived well. They seemed to have started a completely different life. Their smiles are something she had never seen before. They are even willing to die for human beings and have no regrets. Compared with their mother who fell into madness because of anger, Black Dragon Zaka finally chose the side of her sisters. Among them, the golden butter bread on the third floor of the tower also played a little role. Really just a little? At the moment, what Black Dragon Zaka wants to know is the secret that her sisters know and enjoy, but don't tell her. What makes her want to be with this human being? Just because he can make delicious bread? Time seems to stop at this moment. Black Dragon Zaka's young body appeared in Yunshi's arms and stretched out her hands to him. From the palm of her tender and smooth hands, bursts of cool air came into Yunshi's body. This air slowly flowed into Yunshi's body, leaving only a trace of cool meaning. It was very comfortable, and it would be better if it weren't black. The dark force with a cold taste infected Yunshi's body a little bit. It's strange that his body didn't resist this dark force, and it seems that it is not strange to have this dark attribute power. What you have done to my sisters, I also want. Although still young, Black Dragon Zaka's curiosity overcame her shyness, and she instinctively perceived the difference between herself and her sisters. They have something she doesn't have. Even Red Dragon Zaka, who is just a little older than her, also has a sense of maturity she doesn't have. She lowered her head and looked at the pair of little white rabbits. As Black Dragon Zaka wished, Yuanxi gently kissed Black Dragon Zaka's small red lips. When it comes to kissing, Black Dragon Zaka was not Yuanxi's opponent at all. Her pair of clear, lively, kind, and simple eyes were tightly closed. The 2 rows of long eyelashes were bent and trembling. The small, pink, soft, and smooth body twisted, but it couldn't escape Yuanxi's clutches. Even though she is still small, she inherits the fine tradition of the Zaka sisters. Although the buds on her chest were not very big, it had a full sense of protrusion, like a sharp bamboo shoot. Yuanxi's hand moved down involuntarily, and soon it felt the softness. Black Dragon Zaka blinked and seemed to understand what the sisters couldn't say. Oh, ah, her clear and simple eyes closed shyly at this time. So, my sisters were treated like this. I understand. Only in this way can I be like my sisters and make us truly united. Chapter 830. Dessert time. Ah, is that so, sisters? In the girl's sweet and pathetic voice, the youngest Black Dragon Zaka finally understood what her sisters knew but she didn't know. The aroma is provocative, the green fruit is tempting, the skin is greasy and soft, the feeling is itching, the body is uneasy, the pink and tender body is shaking suddenly, and the whole body becomes extremely soft. The lovely voice, tempting salivation, and the gentle song echoed in the dark world. Black Dragon Zaka's delicate mouth was blocked by Yuanxi, deftly provoking the closed jaws, and slammed in again. The deft tongue soon caught her glittering, dodgy, greasy tongue in that delicate, greasy, warm mouth, sucked it out, greedily licked and entangled. The invisible flame began to burn on Black Dragon Zaka's delicate body. The little Black Dragon Zaka's face was moist and her body wriggled uneasily. Oh, ah. Her nose's rapid breathing brought out bursts of hum. Occasionally, a gentle and sad, poor moan swayed into the bone marrow. The excitement made Black Dragon Zaka's whole body numb and sour, and her eyelashes trembled slightly, but she was too shy to open her eyes. Dodgy but misty eyes opened slightly, and what she saw was some too exciting scenery. The body, as if it had been melted, was sour and soft without strength. Even if it was strong enough to crush the constitution of the world, it had no immunity at this moment. The black ripples ripple away bit by bit. The snow-white, pink, and tender feet are also rippling in the arms of Yuanxi, playing the song of love. Yuanxi tasted the taste of the last Black Dragon Zaka. They are all charming desserts. The taste of Desert Dragon Zaka is like a donut that will explode in the mouth, and there will always be a strong fragrance on the tip of the tongue. Ice Dragon Zaka's taste is ice cream layer after layer, which is sweet and delicious with endless aftertaste. The taste of Red Dragon Zaka is the wine heart chocolate that makes people warm all over, like a burning pleasure. The taste of Black Dragon Zaka is crisp, sweet, and soft cake, which melts in the mouth and makes him immersed in that simple sweetness. Is it a moment or a permanent memory? In the endless darkness, it seems that even the concept of time has become ambiguous. Black Dragon Zaka, the world-devouring dragon, has such distorted and powerful rules. In her dragon shadow, even time can be frozen. Yuanxi even saw the once disappeared king city of the Guardian Kingdom at the end of the endless darkness. Let Yuanxi teach herself what was not taught in the textbook, and finally understand what her sisters understand. Black Dragon Zaka's naked feet stepped on Yuanxi's hand. I understand. Come. Change. If it's you, you can do it. The green blade teared the dark curtain of heaven and ran through the dragon shadow of Black Dragon Zaka, announcing the end of this world. The figure of Black Dragon Zaka turned into a part of darkness and became the power of Yuanxi. Finally, Black Dragon Zaka's blessing is finally complete. Endless. Black Dragon Wave. Yuanxi raised his left hand and aimed at the green giant sword that tore the world. The strongest power of Zaka, the power of the world-devouring dragon, finally comes under the domination of Yuanxi. The weakest link in the Dragon Roar wave has been completed. Yuanxi finally has the strongest weapon, which is enough to compete with the original dragon. The silver spiral light spot responded to Yuanxi's call and instantly appeared at his fingertips, flying, and jumping. 4 spiral lines of different colors are finally connected behind the silver spiral light spot in a perfect posture. At the moment, the dragon roar wave is the real dragon roar wave. Black, white, red, yellow, blue. Endless colors are intertwined, more vivid and energetic than ever. The originally slightly lifeless black is also alive. Ding! For the first time, the green giant sword that tore heaven and earth encountered obstacles, and even large cracks began to appear in the body of the sword. The power of the dragon roar wave was finally released. This flying dragon roar wave really has the hegemonic power to destroy everything. The speed of its movement is so fast that she can't even judge with the naked eye. It's an unbound divine light, and it's also a destructive light that divides all things. The original giant dragon with an emerald mask, whose eyes were originally chaotic, was a little more awake. At the same time, the index finger and middle finger that stood up as a sword began to move more frequently. The reflection of the second emerald giant sword began to appear behind her, replacing the shadow of the first one, which was already riddled with holes. This is really amazing power. Even Shi, who has long known the power of the original dragon, can't help but be amazed when he sees the second emerald giant sword. Compared with the first sword that had been destroyed by his dragon roar wave, this sword was larger and the green light it released was more dazzling. That sense of oppression, as if to tell Shi, no matter how strong you become, I am still stronger than you. This kind of strength is edgeless. What is the best way to defeat such a primitive dragon? The silver spiral light point returned to Shi's fingertips, and the 4 spiral lines continued to accelerate and accumulate strength. Just like responding to the anger of the original dragon, the 4 Zaka sisters never conceded. Shi can feel that he is not fighting alone at the moment. Mermaid girls active in the royal city of Assyria, greetings from the Queen of Assyria and White Moon. The colorful dragon roar wave flying at his fingertips, the love song of the dragon incarnated by the 4 Zaka sisters. Also, the balance rule of the original dragon has been vaguely suppressed, and the gaze of the twin witches. It's time to liberate the taboo. The 4 Zaka sisters even gambled their lives to become his power, so he must also respond equally. He will pay the price well. Now, let him open it again. The door that shouldn't be opened. The star wings. Shi raised his sword and resolutely summoned the unknowable mystery again. For the first time, Shi saw the sun. The blazing flames of the sun covered heaven and earth and burned everything. The second time, Shi saw the green girl holding the doll, with the brilliance of life that breeds everything. This time, what will he see? The Starwings world is like a box full of countless unknowns. You never know what is in the box before opening it. Language and understanding. Behaviors and phenomena. Heart and body. Meow. Chapter 831. Black Wings. It was an elegant and lovely cat, who came from the gap between the world and the world with her mind-stirring footsteps. Exists, but doesn't exist. The ghost that let countless scholars scold the Yunhai the Sky Sword. Let the gods go crazy. This time, Shi observed her existence more clearly than in the past. Then, a black smell leaked out of the open door. Black? Shi first time saw the black wings, which were completely different from the first golden red wings of the sun and the second wings of life. They were strange and profound wings. Danger, danger, danger. From the black wings, Shi felt an absolutely bad breath. That is more dangerous than the sun of burning mountains and boiling seas. She is completely different from the previous wings. Just the black feathers falling from the other side of the door gave Shi a shivering feeling as if countless worlds were crying. Open the door. From the other side of the door, there was a strange sound, which seemed very unexpected, and looked forward to something. This door can't be opened. Shi suddenly had the impulse to close the door. The black wings gave him a very bad premonition. If he opened this door, it would lead to unpredictable disasters, which might even be more dangerous than the original dragon. Sure enough, the liberation of the Star Wings is like opening a mysterious box that doesn't know what exists. The wings that appeared in the box for the first time are more or less still in the familiar range of Shi, This time, the third appearance of wings was a complete disaster. Just the falling black feathers made Yuan-shi feel chilly. From these black feathers, he smelled the destruction of countless worlds. Compared with the owner of this black feather, Black Dragon Zaka is simply a harmless little animal. Don't you expect to destroy? The owner of the black wings smiled gently, as if she had already seen through Yuan-shi's little mind. Then, feel it, the sound of the end of the stars. Black feathers fell, covering the Starwing's sword in Yuan-shi's hand. The Starwings absorbed these black feathers and became the same color as the feathers. Enjoy destroying. Destroy everything in the world. Finally, nothingness. The girl's voice echoed in Yuan-shi's ears, like a lover's whisper. Ah! Yuan-shi pressed his forehead, and the endless dark breath spread. It was not only the dark matter of Black Dragon Zaka, but also the breath from the other side of the galaxy. This breath is far beyond the limit of the four Zaka sisters. It is only the part that leaks out from the door that slightly opens the gap, which makes Yuan-shi see the endless end. The original dragon opposite Yuan-shi waved the emerald sword again to confront Yuan-shi's dragon roar wave. The dragon roar wave, which can tear up the barrier of space and attack infinitely, blasted large holes on the second emerald giant sword. But this giant sword built by the original power of the dragon will soon repair itself. Each attack will make this sword more powerful, and the posture will become more majestic and sharp. The whole process is like the birth of an immortal sword. With the breaking power of the dragon roar wave, a terrible god weapon is being forged. This is the most terrifying place of the original dragon. She has the natural attribute of gestating god weapon. The four Zaka sisters' weapons were created by her, and each holds an attribute of the original dragon. Now, the new and more powerful god weapon is being built by the original dragon. Once this process is completed, the four Zaka sisters, who incarnate the dragon roar wave, will no longer pose a threat. The horror of the original dragon is emerging in this way. The twin witches looked at the original dragon who was casting god weapon and nodded to each other. On the golden balance held by the two ends of the once unbalanced balance once again returned to an incredible equilibrium. This means that the chips invested by Yuan-shi and the chips of the original dragon have achieved real parity for the first time. The next battle will soon determine the fate of the world. Once again, the dragon roar wave danced at the fingertips of Yuan-shi, and the scarred giant sword of the original dragon recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally became a big sword that Yuan-shi was slightly familiar with. It's just that Yuan-shi can't see the sword at the moment. His eyes fell into an indifferent nothingness, and all the forces of the battle god's seed in his body began to inspire. It was the last card of Cassina, the battle god, buried in Yuan-shi's body, as well as all the mermaid marks released. Otherwise, he simply could not bear the power contained in this sword, which came from the far side of the starry sky and came into this world from the door opened by the Starwings. At this moment, in Yuan-shi's eyes, the world has become countless chaotic lines, and the vast majority of lines show a disordered arrangement. Only the green dragon is so dazzling in this black and white world. She doesn't belong to this world. She is above this world. Similarly, at this moment, Yuan-shi has also exceeded the limits of the world, surrounded by a large number of stars and dust. In those dust, there are countless memories of destroyed stars, and what destroyed these stars was a pair of black wings. Yuan-shi cannot say the name of this pair of wings, but he can feel the attributes of this pair of wings. The terminator of the stars. The star wings, which turned black, released the breath of turning everything into nothingness in Yuan-shi's hands, which was the end of the stars in the continuous collapse and self-destruction. Stars fall. Yuan-shi unconsciously began to wave his sword, and the star wings, which turned black, fell, and the broken breath of the void covered the original dragon. The original dragon also waved her sword without hesitation, and the green light on the curled hair flashed, cutting off all things, and the overwhelmed sword she fell. The colorful dragon roar wave turned into endless brilliance and suddenly spread. All the light in the world was eclipsed at this moment. Chapter 832. Her Name, Part 1. Blades. One is a huge black sword, with black wings extending from the hilt, releasing the breath of destroying the sky and earth. One is a green giant sword. The body of the sword constantly shines with green brilliance, and it also has groundbreaking power. Why is this feeling so familiar? Finally, Yunshi's consciousness fell into a strange realm. After releasing the battle god's seed, he was in the weakest state in his life, and even the fingertip movement was extremely laborious. Holding the black star wings, he was also in the strongest state in his life. Waving the black star wings, every brandish made the whole world tremble. Confused? Uneasy? Nervous? Stepping on the black aperture, Yunshi danced in the clear sky, followed by falling black feathers and the colorful dragon roar wave of the four Zaka sisters, dancing with the dragon. At the same time, the dragon's roar from the original giant dragon rang through the sky, and the dragon horn began to appear above the emerald mask. Battle. Fight on. Two different sword lights crisscross and collide in the sky. Both sides have the absolute power to decide the fate of the world. This is a battle between monsters and monsters. It is in this level of fighting that Yunshi first experienced what is beyond the limit and what is the momentum of self-esteem in the sky and the world. With each sword, a certain feeling in his heart became stronger and stronger. The sword will not lie. The original dragon fighting with him, even in a palpitating madness, still vaguely exudes the familiar breath. Her sword is very strong. It can even be said to be the strongest of all the strong people she has come into contact with. But similarly, her sword makes Yunshi feel familiar. Such a sword is so special and powerful. The green aperture, constantly spreading around her, covers the world. That's the dragon roar wave of the original dragon. The strange green dragon roar wave follows a principle that even the four Zaka sisters don't know, and constantly strengthens and transforms the green giant sword. The original dragon, who lost the four Zaka sisters, chose to recast a sword to fight. This sword will continue to become stronger in battle, strengthening itself every minute and every second. More and more runes are floating on this unfinished green giant sword, and each rune has different power. Tenacity can make the sword hairer. Unyielding can resist external forces. Armor breaking can break through the enemy's defense. Crush can kill small body-sized creatures in an instant. Vitality can give the user unlimited energy. Any of these runes has the power to change the war situation. The original dragon not only cast these runes, and they can continuously strengthen the sword. However, the black star wings of Yunshi is the same. The longer Yunshi liberates the star wings, the more he can feel how terrible the black feathers falling from the other side of the door are. The original dragon can continuously strengthen its green giant sword with its own talent, and its black feathers are also improving the strength of the star wings. The rudiments of a pair of black wings are slowly contingent behind Yunshi. That is a taboo that cannot appear in the world. It is an indescribable thing from the other side of the starry sky. It is a disaster that will lead to the collapse of the world and the fall of stars. With each sword, Yunshi can feel the malice from the stars' memories, and even his own consciousness has become more and more nihilistic. It seems that for the owners of these black wings, once they appear, they are doomed to bring irreparable things. Among the three different wings, the black wing has the most terrible attribute. That power even made Yunshi, who had the experience of dominating the dark forces, feel palpitation. However, it is such a force that can cooperate with the dragon roar wave to fight with the original giant dragon. Both sides are raising their limits and surpassing the development of the world. Nothing can stop the original dragon and Yunshi. Not bound by anything. Above all things in the world. God of gods. Demon of demons. Their swords even had a special resonance. During the constant impact, the star wings even found something, and more actively bombarded the green giant sword that was not fully formed, showing the black feathers. In return, the original dragon's sword released more green light, as if answering the star wing's attack. Jie. Behind Yunshi, a black wing first broke his shoulders and floated behind Yunshi with a sense of elegance that ignored everything. Hiss. Similarly, a fuzzy light wing also stretched out from behind the original dragon, corresponding to the black wings of Yunshi. The original dragon with an emerald mask was stunned for the first time and pressed her forehead. For a long time, the green light that dominated the original dragon also showed signs of instability for the first time. The hair clusters twisted like sharp blades, which seemed to be a little nervous. It's a variable. Yunshi was keenly aware of this. Mother's consciousness is recovering. Yes, keep fighting. Mom really fell asleep. This is the best chance. The four Zaka sisters made joyful sounds together. The dragon roar wave first rushed to the top of the sky, and then began to accelerate constantly. Dragon roar wave, maximum output. The four-color spiral turned in a beautiful and wild posture. 100,000 revolutions per second, 200,000 revolutions per second. With full enthusiasm, love for Yunshi, and absolute trust in him, Zaka sisters began their strongest preparation. The Dragon Roar wave, which has been constantly carrying out high-speed impact, has entered the power storage mode for the first time. It is the strongest blow and fiercest Dragon Roar wave. Yunshi, in the state of black wings, responded to the voices of the Zaka sisters and also raised the star wings in his hand. A sword style that didn't belong to his memory began to build and take shape. Perhaps this is not a sword style, but a declaration, a ceremony to completely end the fate of the stars. Wearing an emerald mask, the original dragon reached out and rubbed the green hair clusters on her head, and then played the green giant sword that had begun to take shape. The slender fingers, like weaving some rules, erased all the runes engraved on the green giant sword, and then began to write again. Chapter 832. Her Name, Part 2. That is a higher level, a more powerful and profound text than the previous multiple enchantments. At the same time, it is also a ceremony to give the original god weapon its real name. The giant sword, which was originally green all over, began to have other colors. A part of the hilt turned into a black keel guard, with a golden dragon flame wrapped around the hilt, releasing the unique breath of the original giant dragon. The body of the sword is made of huge dragon teeth. You can hardly see the blade, because this sword doesn't need to use the blade to tear the enemy's body. The power of the sword itself can sweep everything. The pale gold lines are distributed from the end of the hilt to the tip of the sword. They are about 1.8 meters long and 0.4 meters wide. From the initially huge to unimaginable sword shadow, they have become the fog really held in the hands of the original dragon. On the body of the sword, a dragon language inscription unique to the dragon clan emerges, which is the real name of the dragon bone demon sword given by the original giant dragon. This sword is Yunshi, who is about to swing a sword that will let the stars fall, was completely stunned. Such a sword, once seen, will never be forgotten. Even from the sound of the sword reverberating on the sword, Yunshi heard the ancient sound of the dragon. The curse of the Dragon Emperor, who holds this sword, will receive the eternal gaze of the Nightmare Dragon Emperor. Only the strongest hero is qualified to hold this demon sword. Only those who can face the gaze of the Dragon Emperor can wave this demon sword. That is the pride of the dragon nationality, the self-esteem of the Dragon Emperor, and the highest fantasy god weapon. Only girls with the same ancient and supreme blood can remember this name and even summon the power of the Dragon Emperor, who has long been one of the Nightmare Monarchs. Across space-time and the barrier between nightmares and reality, the Nightmare Monarch floating in the endless dark void opened his long muddy eyes and gazed at the battlefield of another world. This sword, with the power comparable to the Star Wings now, is one of the strongest god weapons in the entire Endless Gods domains, and the will embodiment of the Nightmare King. The person who holding this sword brought Yunshi the biggest shock. With the appearance of this sword, the emerald mask on the original dragon's face began to fragment a little, revealing the familiar pretty face of Yunshi under the mask. Like summer sunshine, the queen who will never disappear. Like a dream, the snow-white face was filled with a smile that made Yunshi intoxicated. "Mom!" Desert Dragon Zaka shouted happily, while all the sand eyes danced out, locking onto her figure. "You finally woke up." Ice Dragon Zaka summoned the max amount of ice mirror arrays, reflecting hundreds of millions of rays of brilliance. Take our strongest blow. Red Dragon Zaka had no regrets, and the Crimson Dragon Roar wave had spread unrestricted. Good morning, Mom. Black Dragon Zaka smiled sweetly. She finally saw her mother, the gentle outline in her dream. At the same time, she also had a premonition of her disappearance. Zakas are the children conceived in the dreams of the original dragon. The moment when the original dragons wake up is when they disappear. They return from dust to dust, from earth to earth, from soul to soul, returning to their mother's embrace. So, this is the last Dragon Roar wave. Without hesitation, the final Dragon Roar shockwave. Why is it you? From summoning the Black Starwings and the original dragon into the final battle, the vague premonition has come true. That kind of sword was so familiar, so kind. It should be said that it was you. The eternal Summer Queen in his memory, the one he loves, the one he must overcome now. First love. The most talented swordsman. No one can match his childhood sweetheart. The original dragon, also Yunshi's childhood sweetheart, slowly raised her head and looked at Yunshi. Those kind of eyes, those movements, how it makes people's hearts beat faster. Did she see it? Well, there is no doubt that she was looking at Yunshi with triumphant and elated eyes. Is she talking about something? Yunshi, who had been unable to stop, looked at her blankly and at a loss. It should have been discovered earlier. Desert Dragon Zaka has her wayward and wild side. Ice Dragon Zaka has her wise and calm side. Red Dragon Zaka has her passionate side. Black Dragon Zaka has her profound side. Moreover, no matter which Zaka, he has an inexplicable sense of intimacy. It seems that they have never been his enemies. Meet Desert Dragon Zaka in the crowd. Ice Dragon Zaka's initial resistance and final tenderness. He couldn't turn his back on Red Dragon Zaka. He couldn't leave the greedy Black Dragon Zaka alone. Ah, I see. The four Zaka sisters have given him a heart attack. It turned out that it was predestined. Their love with him, in fact, was her love with him, in such an incredible and wonderful way. Between heaven and earth, the rotation speed of the Dragon Roar wave has reached the maximum. 1,000,000 revolutions per second. The power of the spiral shows a hegemony that eclipses the world, which is the strongest and the last Dragon Roar wave so far. Farewell from the four Zaka sisters. The girl held the god weapon cast by herself with both hands and made an offensive gesture towards the boy. The sword body of Dragon Bone Demon Sword was wrapped with a breath that made the world tremble. The girl responded to the challenge of the teenager. As long as she wants, she can certainly achieve it. What she wants is truth. This is the power of the sky-flying blood to surpass the worldly legal principles. The black sword mark is the sound of announcing the end of the world and the prelude to the collapse of the world. The golden scar of the sword is the voice that announces the liberation of the sky-flying bloodline and transcends the legal principle above the world. The two sword scars constantly crisscross, rotate, up and down, and involve the world in chaos. Up, down, left, right, east, south, west, north. Everything is chaotic. The world itself has returned to its original state, the initial time of chaos. The next second, the Dragon Roar wave of four Zaka sisters became the decisive force, and the Dragon Roar wave, which reached 1,000,000 rotation speed per second, fell from the sky and bombarded the original dragon sword accurately. The two swords that were originally entangled decided the outcome at this moment. The girl grabbed four Zaka sisters, and then they were swallowed by the black sword marks. Finally, she showed a slightly shy expression to Yunshi, her small face flushed, as if she had seen something wonderful from the memories of Zaka sisters. Good night, Huahu. Yunshi said the girl's name and also decided the fate of the world. Chapter 833. The engagement of the twin witches, it's over. Yunshi put down the black star wings in his hand. His empty pupils were full of relaxed expressions. When he finally determined that his opponent was Huahu, he could hardly think of any way to defeat his invincible childhood sweetheart. Yes, he just couldn't think of a way. His invincible childhood sweetheart left a deep impression on Yunshi. If it weren't for the last strike that broke the balance, it would be him who lost. Even so, Yunshi didn't think he really won Huahu. What he won was the original dragon, who just woke up from sleep in the world. The original dragon is the original dragon, and Huahu is Huahu. Although the two were finally proved to be one person, the original dragon should be just a dream of Huahu. Is this a pleasant dream or a horrendous nightmare for Huahu? No, it's not over yet. White Lotus looked at the gold balance that had been completely tilted in her hand and put on the ring of stars and moon. Yes, the world has not been redeemed. Red Lotus looked murderously at Yunshi, who didn't know what was going on. Yunshi looked at the little green flowers on his chest, the last blessing left by Lvji. At the moment, this little flower was trying its best to release its last glory and block the invasion of some force. Of course, it's not over. Call me. Deadly whispers echoed in Yunshi's ears, and more black feathers floated between heaven and earth. More trouble than the original dragon. This is only the beginning. Where these black feathers fell, all the forces of the world began to collapse, which enabled Yunshi to overcome the power of the original dragon, and also the power that led to the collapse of the stars. It is not satisfied with just the fruit of defeating the original dragon. It needs more sacrifices. It is devouring the stars. Wait, stop. Yunshi looked at the black feather that was constantly eroding the world with astonishment. It was different from Black Dragon Zaka, who just ate the power of the world. It was really the ultimate power that made the world fall into. No, I want to eat. Opposite the door, a thin hand stretched out, but the snow-white hand gave Yunshi a taboo breath that was more dangerous than the ancient god. What the ancient god needs is crazy desire, impulse, and degeneration, while the owner of this snow-white hand likes eating the stars. Yunshi, who summoned the black wings, was stunned to find that although he had solved the original dragon's threat to the world, he'd caused a greater crisis. Moreover, this time it was his own mistake, and he didn't even have a chance to save it. Prince, my lovely prince. White Lotus hummed a love song representing beautiful love and looked at Yunshi with soft and moist eyes. Take it out, the treasure that can save the world. No, forget it. Just let us alone to save the world. Red Lotus's face looked very bad. There's no such thing. Yunshi looked at the more and more black feathers around him, and the little hand that seemed to grasp him and pull him into another world, showing an expression of tears. Now, he even ran out of the battle god seed in his body. If there was that treasure, he would use it in the final battle with the original dragon. Now, what can he do to deal with the owner of the black wings? With bread? No, there is. White Lotus smiled gently. There is no such thing. Go to hell. Red Lotus's expression was getting worse and worse. That's a very, very important contract, remember? White Lotus picked up the golden balance in front of her. Hope that can be used to save everything at the end of the world. You are the culprit that caused the end of the world. Red Lotus shouted out the truth to the world. Contract? Is it? Yunshi took out a document that he carried on his arms with difficulty. It was an agreement made by the past king and the sacred witches who commanded the people of the southern tribes. The only person recognized by the world, the person that can marry the holy witch. Yes, that's it. White Lotus smiled with incomparable sweetness. This was the end she was waiting for. No, don't come. Red Lotus looked at the contract and was going crazy. The world returned to chaos. White Lotus lifted up the golden balance in her hand and put the owner of the black wings to the side of the balance. On the other side, there were the twin witches hand in hand and the stunned Prince Yunshi. The country has disappeared, and even the concept of the world has become ambiguous because of the battle between the owner of the black wings and the original dragon. For the owner of black wings, this world in chaos is probably a delicious dessert, which is no different from newly peeled eggs. And Yunshi's body, or the star wings, is the coordinate of the owner of the black wings. It's an invitation to invite her to enjoy this delicious food. She is not the one who will restrain her desire to devour the stars. Now, as the holy twin witch, the world will usher in a new life. Pulling her resisting sister, White Lotus came to Yunshi with pride and took away the witch marriage contract in his hand. White Lotus, am willing to swear with this person here to become the origin, the supreme, and the hope of the world. Writing her name neatly on the only valid engagement book for witches, and White Lotus's smile was incomparably bright. No, I won't marry this kind of playboy. Red Lotus, who had been observing the chaotic relationship between Yun Shi and the four Zaka sisters, filed a complaint against Yun Shi. Well, in fact, Yun Shi looked at Red Lotus embarrassingly. He really didn't have any bad ideas about the holy twin witches. It doesn't matter, sister. I'll create the world with the prince alone. White Lotus covered her mouth and giggled. What shall I do if you marry him? Red Lotus went furious. She and White Lotus are inseparable twins, together even in death. White Lotus dates Yun Shi, and she also has to date Yun Shi passively. When White Lotus and Yun Shi get married, she also has to watch. Even the wedding night of White Lotus and Yun Shi. This is the existence posture of the twin witches. She never thought that White Lotus would marry someone one day. Of course, forgive us. White Lotus smiled like a child. Drops of cold sweat fell down from Yun Shi's forehead. Chapter 834. New story. No, I won't allow it. The aggrieved Red Lotus waved her Red Lotus demon sword in anger. Prince, we are the only ones left in this world. White Lotus gently looked at Yun Shi with an embarrassed face. She was right. The whole world had degenerated into the initial chaotic state and was exposed to some extremely dangerous existence. At the beginning of the world, there were only the witches and the prince left in the unknown world. Yun Shi suddenly found that he seemed to have heard such a story. That's a story about the origin of the world. No, White Lotus. This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare. Red Lotus looked at White Lotus, who had begun to stretch out her little hand and held it tightly with Yun Shi, and refused to believe it. This may be a dream, but it must be the highest and best dream. White Lotus, far bolder than her sister in love, kissed Yun Shi's lips. No. The scream of Red Lotus echoed in the world, but it could not stop her sister's willfulness. Yes, compared to Red Lotus, who seems to be hot-tempered, White Lotus was actually the most willful one. Her heart, very pure, doesn't contain any implications, like a blank paper. Her love is also very pure. Once it starts, it cannot end. Kissing Yun Shi's lips, White Lotus and Red Lotus released divine brilliance, and the golden balance began to make the final correction to the balance of the world. Is it death or rebirth? Just like the battle between Yun Shi and the original dragon, the twin witches turned themselves into chips and stood at the same end of the scale as Yun Shi. This is. The owner of the black wings, who was about to eat the world, made a surprised sound. Woo, I hate you, you bastard. Although she hated Yun Shi, Red Lotus finally chose to write her name on the damn contract. It's definitely not her own will, but there's no way. If she doesn't write her name on this damn engagement book, she won't be able to be with her sister in the judgment of the golden balance. It is unacceptable to marry such a playboy. However, she couldn't accept the loss of her sister. White Lotus, for Red Lotus, is more important than anything. On the golden scale, the divine brilliance suddenly shined, and the outline of the whole world began to become clear. Once completely overwhelmed by black feathers, the balance began to tilt towards Yun Shi because of the participation of the twin witches. This represents the original god weapon from the era of gods, and it is determined that the twin witches and Yun Shi can defeat the black feathers that invade the world. Their world with Yun Shi shows the potential to offset these black feathers. The black feathers disappeared one by one, and the green flower, which has been resisting the erosion of the black feathers on Yun Shi, finally completed its mission, turned into light spots with a smile, and released its last blessing. Pafu. Little Pafu absorbed the last strength of the flower that had always protected Yun Shi, and its body became more crystal clear. Prince, what kind of world do you want? Is it a world where only women and you can live happily? White Lotus stoked Yun Shi's cheek and looked at him with a smile. It's really abnormal, bastard. Who wants such a world? Red Lotus's eyebrows raised in anger. What a distorted world it is. No, just the ordinary world. Yunshi quickly began to make a wish. If this wish can come true, with magic and knights, people can live an ordinary life, and there is no need to fight against the evil dragon. As you wish, an ordinary, hopeful world. White Lotus's fingertips began to weave words, which was the right given to her by the world. Well, as the founding god of this world, it's natural to add a little bit of other things into it. The old world is coming to an end, and then there is a new world. It is also the beginning of a new world after the end of the old world. Also, a new chapter of the story. The girl's voice began to echo in every corner of the world. That is also a story told by a girl in love. A long time ago, the world was destroyed. Probably 1,000 years after the demise of the ancient kingdom of Assyria, the terrible dragon woke up from sleep. Her wings covered the world, and her anger ignited the world. Her name is the original dragon, which ends the old world and causes the disaster of extinction. In a world that lost hope and went to ruin, there was a prince who gambled everything on himself to save the world. He lost his father. He lost his kingdom. He went through ups and downs, stepped into the tower representing the last hope of the world, and obtained the precious secret treasure of the dragon. Finally, he defeated the invincible dragon. Looking back around, the world is full of barbarians, and as black wings fall, announcing the demise of the old world. However, it doesn't matter. The world will always find a way out, and life will always strive to continue. According to the old agreement, the beautiful and pure twin witches married the lonely prince and will accompany him and become his lover from today on. This is the story of the twin princesses and the prince who saved the world. A long time ago, there was an ancient myth that was passed around about the creation of this world. People would be curious about the disappearing ancient civilization and full of respect for the prince in the story. In front of all churches, statues of twin witches and the prince would inevitably be erected. The beautiful witch dressed in red witch clothes would be praised as the goddess of victory, holding the sword. Her sword symbolizes victory and strength. It is the god of war that all knights believe in. The beautiful witch dressed in white witch clothes would be praised as the goddess of wisdom in charge of books and knowledge. The books in her hands symbolize wisdom and mystery, and she is the god of wisdom believed by all spellcasters. The prince loved by the twin goddesses would represent all the supreme will and symbolize eternity. This would also be the story of the first year of the new kingdom after the destruction of the kingdom of Assyria 1,000 years ago. A beautiful and romantic ending. Chapter 835, Legend A Long Time Ago, or A Long Time Later. Yunshi walks in the clouds, surrounded by the twin witches holding hands. No matter how time went by, White Lotus's smile seemed to never change. It had always been so simple and pure. Well, relatively speaking, Red Lotus's eyes were as ferocious as ever, and it seemed that it was the kind of people who wanted to eat Yunshi. With each step, Yunshi could see different scenery. Under the towering trees, the quiet village was filled with a faint smell of grass, and the lush forest was blown by the light wind, sending out a rustling whisper. In the air, there were magical creatures that could be seen by the naked eye, dancing in the golden sun. They were the relatives of the twin goddesses and the elves loved by the world. The green branches sprinkled with dewdrops. In the shadow under the shade of the tree, the fern leaves with ancient lines emitted a soft light, like a silver brocade. On the leaves of the grass unfolding under the sun, and on the new buds of the vibrant wheat, drops of dew trembled like small glass beads strung on the line. What blows from the west only blows it down, and the water drops scatter, flashing with the color of the rainbow, reflecting the golden brilliance. Beside the village, there was a farm horse standing in the river, knee-high, lazily shaking its wet tail. From time to time, big fish float from the bottom of the river, spit out strings of foam, and then turn over and continue to travel back to the bottom of the river. The sun rising from the horizon radiated charming golden red light, dyed large clouds in the sky, and covered the plains and villages bathed in the sunrise with a dreamlike veil. The scenery on the horizon changed constantly, and finally came to the seaside. The scenery of the sky also changed. Yunshi crossed the dividing line between day and night and came to night. The moonlight shone on the seashore, and the number of stars in the sky was amazing. The dim starlight stretches into a starry river in the night sky, and the waves on the sea flicker. He can't see where the junction of the sea and the sky is, and the mystery of dark blue and white spreads. An ancient city stood by the sea, and the city wall exuded the breath of vicissitudes. Looking carefully, there was not only one city wall here, but after being expanded several times, it formed a ring area of up to 6 floors. The center of the city is the beginning of legends and the origin of human intellectual civilization. The beautiful twin goddess, and the statue of the highest god who created the world. This is really a wonderful feeling. Looking at the image of himself being carved into a statue, and the twin witches around him have become the gods of the world. Yunshi always felt that all this was too incredible. He didn't expect the end of the world to be like this. Dawn is coming. Similarly, the position of the moon and stars is not something that normal witches can bear. It is an unbearable weight of life. But in this world, everything is possible. This is the reward given to Yun 11 by the will of the stars, which opens a door for him. The twin witches also become glory because of Yunshi. The passage of thousands of years may only be a short time for Yunshi and the twin witches, but it is a long time for the majority of this world. Yunshi didn't think but watched the changes in the world. The twin witches occasionally interfered with the history of the world. He and they became myths, stories, and legends. This is one of the mysteries of the legend rank. Chapter 836, Epic PS. I uploaded Chapter 836 on the page of Chapter 835. Corrected. Listening to people's voices, Yunshi smiled. On the land beside the village, there was the sound of hard-working farmers digging and planting seeds. May the great sun god bless you. This year is also a good year. My little grandson's tuition relies on the harvest this year. By the sea, there was the sound of sailors running on the deck when they began to set sail at dawn. Quick, quick, adjust the position of the mainsail. Grape pellet. Is grape pellet ready? Damn it, someone is lazily drinking. Go down and catch all those bastards. The twin goddesses. If they don't get up again, I'll feed them to the fish in the sea. In the king's city, there are girls in the choir chanting the voice of gods, or epics that extol the deeds of gods. A long time ago. No, maybe a long time later. Probably 1,000 years after the demise of the ancient kingdom of Assyria. No, the first year of the establishment of the new kingdom. There was a prince who met the person he loved. As the prince grew older, it is time for him to get married. He was distressed because he loved more than one girl. So, he began to worry and confide his heart to the girls who might become his bride. The first bride, who was the first bride to make an agreement with him, was the queen of the ancient royal family. The queen was proud and beautiful. The queen was clever and kind. The queen's country, from the distant world, was called Assyria. My queen, answer me. Will you be my princess? I would like to be your princess. With you. The queen told the prince her answer. The first princess was the princess of Assyria. Then the prince found the second object of the engagement. She was the child of the queen. As a doll, but she had her self-awareness. Princess, do you want to be the prince's wife? Put on the most beautiful clothes and gorgeous jewelry for you. You are the best princess in the world, and you are the little princess loved by the prince. You are the princess consort of the prince. Well, I love Dad. Marry Dad. The girls enviously sang the answer of the second princess, which was the hymn of the gods, the story of the mythical age. No one thought there was any problem with the answer of the first princess and the second princess, because they were loved by God. That was the era when God was still a prince, and gods were allowed to do whatever they wanted. In this way, the prince married the second princess, Princess White Moon, and from here, the myth began to enter the climax stage. The princess from the desert was angry because the prince didn't wait for her to come back. but returned to his hometown because he was going to get married. She rushed to the wedding scene and asked loudly why he didn't come back. The prince tried to comfort the princess from the desert and fight with her. The brilliance of the star wings shone, and the golden red sword light once again hit the star of the sand, and also hit the girl's heart. Finally, the two people in the center of the desert hugged and kissed together. The princess from the desert said that if the prince was willing to build the most gorgeous and dazzling palace for her, she would recognize the prince's love and marry him. So the third bride also came to the prince. She was the third princess of the prince, Princess Zaka from the desert. Girls chanting ancient fairy tales, their eyes shining, applauding the brave third princess, blushing and beating for her brave heart. Even gods could stop girls from falling in love. The story continued. Then the prince met the mysterious and dangerous Snow Princess. She had long hair and magical eyes. She hated the prince very much, because the prince took away her most important sister and separated her from her sister. The prince was moved by the girl and bravely proposed to the girl who could not agree to him. What happened? She actually agreed. Of course, she would agree, because God has a mind that can tolerate everything, and even his enemies can be moved by him. Never let worm like you insult my sister's body. I married you to protect my sister. As long as I'm here one day, you don't want to touch my sister's finger. Well, we all know the ending. This is really a happy and sweet love story. On that day, the prince married 4 brides with different personalities and wonderful relationships. However, the story was not over yet. The 5th princess was the Red Dragon Princess roaring in the sky. She danced in the sky, and her roar could destroy the world. She said to the prince, "Don't come near me. Even if I die, I won't allow you to desecrate my body. I want to avenge my sisters. Human beings are unbelievable. Ah, how cute. As we all know, you won't believe in human beings, but you will like the prince." Because it was a doomed love, the eulogized Red Dragon Princess. When darkness came, the apocalyptic incarnation of the old world and the world-devouring dragon appeared. "Betrayers deserve to die," she said. The prince and the Red Dragon Princess began to advance in the last tower of hope of mankind. At each level, the prince would gain different abilities. On the first floor, the prince found the 3rd princess. On the second floor, the prince found the 4th princess. On the 3rd floor, the prince received the blessing of the 1st and 2nd princesses. On the 4th floor, the prince once again faces the world-devouring dragon. The prince smiled at the dragon and waited for her answer. "Are you happy with this man?" asked the dragon to her 3 sisters. "This person is my most important person. My mother is angry. He is a big playboy." So the 6th princess also came to the prince. The twin goddesses witnessed the prince's love, and the prince and his concubines met the original dragon who woke up from her sleep. The wings of the dragon covered the world. The dragon's sharp blade tore the sky. Even so, the prince defeated the strongest original dragon. Finally, the prince married the twin goddesses and created our world. No matter how many times Yunshi listened to it, he felt that this story was too shameful and ridiculous. However, for people in this world, this is their epic, and everyone believes in this story. Once a lie, now it has become true, and it has become something to be praised. This is the story of this world, the epic of the gods. Chapter 837. Return on the Altar. Yunshi looked back at his trial. He was too embarrassed to look directly at what he had done. "Mayor, isn't this strange? Why will it become the ending of me being the sun god?" Even if the story comes to an end, Yunshi still doubts whether there is any conspiracy in it. "Isn't this a happy ending, master?" Mayor's eyes were a little dodgy. Looking at the twin goddess who finally accompanied Yunshi to the end, she had a strange smile of, Hey, Mayor, what about the star wings?" Yunshi asked again. Speaking of the biggest reward of this Dragon War trial, in fact, it is not a trace of divinity, legendary rank, of the sun god at the final settlement, but the ultimate god weapon, the star wings. Anyway, this is not a weapon he can use at this stage. Every time he uses it, it will attract the mysterious existence's attention. The sun wings that can burn a world. The green wings of endless life. The black wings that can swallow stars. Among them, only the second green wings are gentle and harmless, while the first and third wings have problems. When the black feathers fell, the world almost became food and was eaten by the owner of the black wings. If it weren't for the golden balance of the twin witches who pushed back the black wings on the other side of the door, it would be an irreparable ending. How could this weapon appear in the only third trial? There is no problem in putting the star wings in the 99th ultimate trial as the final reward. This is the ultimate magic sword in the memory of the stars. Yuan-Shi finally knew the danger of this divine sword. He has no doubt that if the star wings power is released in the real world, it will bring the same disaster. The owner of the black wings is a monster more terrifying than the original dragon. And the star wings, a monster who can incarnate into something indescribable, may not be the only one. Yuan-Shi, who once thought that the star wings was a divine sword, now knows that he was very wrong. "Master, those are your wings." Mayer said serious nonsense. "As long as you become stronger, you can control this sword. This is the great will of the stars. It's the best god weapon for you." Yuan-Shi gave a wry smile, but he couldn't deny Mayer's answer. Yes, the star wings is extremely dangerous, but it can also reverse everything, the trump card of the trumps. It is impossible for him to abandon the star wings now. Then, just as Mayer said, let himself continue to become strong enough to deserve the strongest sword representing the future. If he can get the power of all the wings in the sword, he may have a way to escape from the terrifying pursuit of his 4 ex-girlfriends. At least, he can see a glimmer of hope. Return. After settling all the gains and convinced that the trace of the sun god was integrated into his body, Yuan-Shi closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he saw 3 little dogs, Star Thunder, Star Fire, and Star Snow, lying safely beside me. In the air, there was a familiar smell. Thousands of years have passed in the trial world, but in the White Lotus Sword domain, it is just a night's time. Pushing the window open, Yuan-Shi saw the last darkness before dawn, and only one star was quietly shining. Even if there is impermanent darkness in front of me, I will break it for you. Hua-Hu, how are you? White Lotus Sword Palace, the other side. Hua-Hu wiped her Tyrannosaurus sword, and her eyes were full of confusion. Beside her, there were 4 light spots floating, showing yellow, blue, red, and black respectively. She had a dream, a strange, seemingly chaotic, but fiery dream. In her dream, she sometimes incarnated as a princess in the desert, falling in love with a prince. Sometimes she was the princess of the northern ice field and married the prince. Sometimes she was the red dragon princess who was flying in the sky and in love with the prince. Sometimes she was the silent black dragon princess who was spoiled by the prince. The 4 princesses were all her, but none of them was her. But the only thing in common was that they all fell in love with a prince. So, the question is, who is the prince? Who else will it be? Naturally, it's her little she. No matter what others think, she thinks little she is her unique prince in her eyes. The problem was that there seemed to be other things happening in the dream, but she couldn't remember what happened. For her, this dream seems to be an incredible spring dream full of sweet feelings. Well, in her dream, she seems to have learned various postures by doing this, and that with Yuan-Shi many times. Even now, the burning gasp and the overlapping stimulation of the body are still extremely clear. For different women had 4 different relationships with little she, and each of which made Hua-Hu blush and increased her heartbeat. Recalling this strange dream, her cheeks suddenly turned red. In her dream, she was so bold that she even took the initiative to sneak into little she's room at night. No, there were also times when little she sneaked into her room at night. Hey. With a flick of the Tyrannosaurus sword in her hand, Hua-Hu made a decision. Cast again. In order to commemorate this wonderful dream, she wanted to cast all 4 selves in the dream. Well, in her dream, she seems to have evolved into four different selves, namely Zaka, with the four forces of dust, ice, fire, and darkness as the core. Then, in reality, she could do the same thing, because she is a girl who has the power of flying in the sky. In front of her will, even the rules of reality will be distorted. All the impossible things are not impossible for her. As long as she wants, she can certainly achieve it. What she wants is truth. This is the power of Tianxiang's blood to surpass the worldly legal principles. At this moment, the four light spots floating around her were the rudiments of the four Zaka sisters. Even if they only existed in dreams, as long as Hua Hu thought they could exist, they would be truly born in the real world. Chapter 838. Resurrected Zaka's Desert Dragon Zaka is wild and impulsive. Ice Dragon Zaka is calm and venomous. Red Dragon Zaka is passionate. Black Dragon Zaka is speechless and mysterious. Huahua likes these children. They are all part of her, but they are different in their loveliness. From their perspective, enjoy the different love scenes with little she. This dream is so wonderful for Huahua that she wants to bring these lovely Zakas out in the real world. No normal person would think about such a thing. For human beings, dreams are an unpredictable, mysterious world, a world full of strange scenery. Most people will forget everything that happened in their dreams in a few minutes after waking up, let alone trace the authenticity of the dream world. However, Huahua is not a normal person. She has a way to realize any absurd thing, waiting for Yunxi to grow up and want to marry him, create different selves in dreams, and endow them with the concept of existence. The girl who has the power of flying in the sky is so willful. They are part of the god weapon. Trying to recall the settings of the Zaka four sisters in the dream, Huahua turned her eyes to the Tyrannosaurus sword in her hand. This demon sword seemed to feel that something bad was going on, and quickly sent out a powerful sword sound to remind his master that this was a super god weapon that could destroy the sky and the earth. It doesn't matter. You won't lose a piece of meat. I'll just disassemble you. Huahua, with a natural expression on her face, stretched out her hand. If the sword can speak, it must give a grief cry. No. Unfortunately, it has no right to say no to Huahua. Huahua disassembled all parts of the dragon sword and began to transform it. The fantasy god weapon, which originally existed only in the dream world, began to take shape little by little. The sword, which once represented the curse of the Dragon Emperor, was completely changed before it could kill any enemy. Dominating the four suspended light spots, Huahua's fingertips constantly hit the body of the Tyrannosaurus sword, adjusting and weaving the shape of the dragon god weapon. Each time it was struck, the Tyrannosaurus sword would emit the sound of the aggrieved sword, but it couldn't stop the will of its owner. Huahua found back the Tyrannosaurus sword that once disappeared in the long river of history. Naturally, she had a way to refit the sword again. Sandust, ice, flames, dark. These attributes that could not have appeared on a god weapon were forged into four different treasure beads by Huahua. Perhaps it is not as powerful as the sword in the Dragon War world, but Huahua did create four treasure beads with different original power. The original dragon, in fact, doesn't represent the current Huahua, but the future. The love between Desert Dragon Zaka and the prince may be a dream for Huahua, but it is a reality for Zaka. They fell in love with him, then fought side by side, and finally returned to their mother's arms together. Huahua, crossing the boundary between dream and reality, made the impossible become possible. At this moment, Desert Dragon Zaka is back to the original dragon mother. It is not the angry mother, but the great and gentle supreme dragon that gave birth to the four sisters. Ah, of course, this is the future world. I also like him, and the world with him. You are all good children. Huahua smiled and held Desert Dragon Zaka, who represented her wild and impulsive side, in her arms. This time, I will give you a happy ending. Fight for me again, Zaka sisters. Chapter 839. Her wishes. The girl had a dream, a very old dream. Even she herself has forgotten that the time that disappeared in the long river of history, the country called Assyria, when she was a princess with extraordinary power from the beginning of her birth. The princess grew up day by day, inherited the throne of the queen, and became the queen of Assyria, blessed by people. She once thought she was the happiest person in the world, and she also hoped to share this happiness with others. At that time, she was simpler and kinder than anyone else. The world in her eyes was so vibrant that she firmly believed that she could lead this country to higher glory. She did it. The Millennium Kingdom, as people call it, was ruled by the Queen of Assyria. Except that she didn't find a dreamy lover, everything was as she wished. Until the blood moon came, she suffered the greatest betrayal, losing her life as a human being and her own country. Without the protection of the queen, the kingdom was destroyed on the night of the blood moon. All those who betrayed her also fell in a pool of blood. Only the will from the abyss stared at her. From that day on, she no longer trusted anyone. Wearing a bloody wedding dress, she lost hope for mankind. She wrote such a diary and told herself not to make the same mistake again. Things in the world can be seen at a glance as long as they are uncovered. They are all boring, unpleasant, and chaotic. How to describe this mood? I still can't give an answer today. After discovering it, I realized that I was a mean person. However, I hate being eliminated. If I can't be the most respected existence, it will be unbearable. After all, I hate losing. So even if I am ugly, filthy, and dirty, if I can't look down on sentient beings from a high place, I will lose the meaning of existence. I can't treat everyone equally and gently. I can't sincerely pray for the people who matter to me. I think it's good for important people to feel bad for me and cry for me. She no longer trusted anyone except herself. She no longer liked anyone, only liked others sad for her, crying, being played by her. Rather than love others, she prefers to be loved by others and eat others happily. The innocent and kind-hearted queen of Assyria has long become such an indescribable thing. The memory of being human collapsed on the night when the blood moon came. Why do I dream like this? The girl lay on the throne of the giant spider, meditating, her bare snow-white feet swaying gently, and she frowned only in her green pajamas. Unlike the queen of Assyria in the dream, she has long green hair in the real world, but her appearance is surprisingly similar to that of the queen of Assyria in the dream world, probably the queen's appearance at the age of 12. At her fingertips, a small light spot was emitting a faint glow, which seemed to disappear anytime, anywhere. What are you? The girl touched this small light spot, and there came a gentle breath. However, no matter whether in her time as the queen of Assyria or now, she has never had close contact with any man. As a human being, her bloodline, even her kingdom, had long been destroyed in the blood moon, and there was not even a survivor. So, where does this little dot of light come from? The answer is almost impossible. In my dream, can I get pregnant? Have a baby? The girl held this small light spot in her hands and always felt that she had forgotten some of the most important things in her dream. This incredible dream left her a child who was favored by the power of ancient gods and was born a child of God. The feeling of blood connection can't be wrong. Open the door. After repeatedly confirming that this was not her illusion, the girl's eyes became gentle. She forgot a lot about what happened in the dream, but the child was in her palm now, and she could even feel the information left by herself in the dream. Create a body for this child. Her body must be the most perfect doll in the world. In addition, it is the material needed to create the body of the doll. Open the door. The girl closed her eyes and stepped into the beach between illusion and reality with this small light spot. On the golden beach, the lonely and cold guardian was also guarding in front of the door, as usual today, in front of which were piles of ghost debris that couldn't see what they were. Welcome to the Sky Tower, the 10th Sky Sword. Lilibet, the guardian of the Sky Tower and the oldest Sky Sword in the Sky Sword God's domain, nodded gently to the girl. Shea Longness is the girl's real name. In the past, when she was human, she was also called the Queen of the Millennium. Sitting on a giant spider, Shea Longness found that she seemed to like this way of moving a little. Is this also the influence of that dream? As the sky sword, she naturally went directly to the altar without being limited by the number of trials, ignoring the restrictions of trials, and directly entered the world of the doll city. This is a world full of chaos and disorder. There are discarded ragged dolls everywhere. Many of them are still wearing gorgeous clothes and brooches pinned with gemstones. But their eyes are all dead, which means that they are all failed works discarded by puppet masters. The puppet masters in the city of puppets are all paranoid and don't allow their works to have even the slightest flaw. The failed doll will all be discarded here. You are all the best puppet masters of the endless gods' domains. Sitting on the throne of the giant spider, Shea Longness the Sky Sword made a sound to the most reclusive puppet masters in the whole city, showing the light spot at her fingertips. Here, there is a task. I need a perfect doll body that fits my lovely daughter. Anyone who can complete this task can make a wish to me. In the name of Shea Longness the Sky Sword, as long as it is a wish that I can complete, it can be achieved. This is the material needed to make her body. The doll must be made with these materials. The higher the quality, the better. This sentence quickly caused a commotion in the doll city. Silent puppet masters are excited about the reward of Shea Longness the Sky Sword, but more puppet masters focus on the little light spot in Shea Longness' hand. That's how possible. Someone has completed the ultimate project. Chapter 840, Legend of the Doll City. Your Excellency the Sky Sword, can you show us your treasure? Several puppet masters wearing tuxedos and the masks of rabbits, werewolves, and foxes appeared beside Shea Longness the Sky Sword, looking at the small light spot flying in her palm with almost fanatical eyes. I am willing to pay all my family property to buy this treasure. No matter what treasures you want in the doll city, please give us this child. Yes, the Supreme Council of our doll city unanimously decided that all the treasures we have can be exchanged for this child. Shea Longness the Sky Sword frowned and looked at the puppet masters who were in a frenzy with puzzled eyes. In her impression, these strange puppet masters have never cared about treasures other than puppets. In the Seven Towers, these puppet masters are almost regarded as insane people. If it weren't for the incredible power of the puppets they made, they would have been excluded from the circle of the Seven Towers Alliance. It's my child. Is there anything strange? Can't you make a body suitable for her? The rabbit, the werewolf, and the fox looked at each other and found that each other's breathing became rapid. Of course we can. We have a lot of moonlight branches in stock. Well, obsidian, ruby, and eye lines are really works of art. If it's convenient, can you tell me which master made it? Looking at the doll formula provided by Shea Longness, the breath of some of the oldest puppet masters became more rapid. Not only they, but also the puppet masters living in seclusion in the city of puppets breathed rapid after seeing the doll formula. Soon, one after another purchase orders were put on the list of the Seven Towers, and the enthusiastic puppet masters began to rush to buy these materials. In less than a quarter of an hour, the inventory of moonlight branches in the entire Endless Gods domain was bought, but even so, it could not stop the enthusiasm of the puppet masters. More reward lists were hung up, and the prices were higher and higher, so that the mercenaries wandering in various gods' domains were gape-mouthed. God, when is the moonlight branch so valuable? Quick, quick, quick. Team up and go to the moonlight forest to cut trees. Wow, they want so many rubies. The higher the quality, the better. Let's go grab the red dragons. There is a newly discovered ruby vein over the volcanic area. It is said that there are many salamanders. Salamander? Even a male fiery dragon can't stop me. Let's kill them. For a time, the mercenaries of the Endless Gods domains were crazy. Capital, with 300% profit, can trample on all moral laws in the world. At the moment, the lists from puppet masters can give them more than 10 times the normal profit. Even moonlight branches grow mostly on ELF's territory. Even if there must be ferocious fire magical beasts near the high-quality gem vein, and even giant dragons, it can't stop these bold mercenaries from going crazy. People die for money, and birds die for food. The task list from puppet masters successfully made groups of mercenaries start moving, just to earn that terrible wealth. Sometimes you can do whatever you want with money. In the doll city, Shea Longness didn't realize that the formula she gave and the small light spot turning around in her palm had led many mercenaries to the road of no return. It's so beautiful. The puppet master with a rabbit mask was drooling. The more he looked at the light spot on Shea Longness' fingertip, the more uncontrollable his heartbeat became. For thousands of years, or even longer, the doll city has never had such a beautiful soul. According to the truth, although souls rarely appear in the real world in the form of entities, puppet masters with countless resources can still trade them. The combination of souls and puppets to produce miraculous puppets is one of the highest masterpieces of the City of Puppets, and it is also the reason why the major forces of the Endless God's domain have to hold their noses and admit the existence of the doll city. The puppets created by the puppet masters have extremely powerful abilities, among which the Death Doll is a legendary prop that the major forces of the Endless God's domains will compete for at all costs. But this soul is different. When Shea Longness the Sky Sword brought this soul to Doll City, all puppet masters discovered the mystery contained in it. It is not the soul of any known intelligent creature, but the perfect doll soul woven by countless magical rules. This is actually true. The more the werewolf-masked puppet master observed the pure white soul, the more suffocated he became. The legend, it's true. The puppet master wearing the fox mask almost cried with joy. They witnessed a legend that has been spread in the doll city since ancient times, a legend about the perfect puppet. According to legend, the perfect doll has a pure mind, a body symbolizing the ultimate beauty, and a soul woven by 7 colors of light. What she represents is the ultimate pursuit of all puppet masters, which is flawless in both soul and body, and has the ultimate beauty that any intelligent creature will palpitate. It is the ultimate goal of all puppet masters to create such a doll. However, even if there is a way to create a perfect body, the way to weave a perfect soul is unknown to even those gods who are high above. This involves the highest level of law. Let alone weaving a perfect soul, the puppet master doesn't have any clue to create an ordinary soul. For this reason, many radical puppet masters have committed many grievous crimes, and some people have even been listed on the wanted list of the entire Endless God's domains. They can only hide in the doll city and are not allowed to step out of the city. All this is just to pursue the ultimate truth of puppet masters, a perfect puppet. At this moment, what do they see? A real, pure, and perfect soul of a doll, just like the legend. That is the ultimate fantasy that puppet masters have pursued for thousands of years. Chapter 841. Crazy Puppet Masters take the liberty to ask, which master's masterpiece is this? The rabbit-masked puppet master's chest constantly fluctuated. When he committed the crime of blasphemy against the soul and was jointly wanted by the major forces of the Endless God's domains, he was not so nervous. So perfect, so pure, so beautiful. The werewolf-masked puppet master was immersed in the ultimate beauty that only puppet masters could understand. In my lifetime, I finally saw it. The fox-masked puppet master kept shaking his hands and looked at Shea Longness' fingertips as if he was looking at his daughter. The rest of the puppet masters who live in seclusion in Doll City are no better than these 3. Crazy, greedy, obsessed. For those who have been committed to creating the perfect puppet all their lives, this is a miracle. Master. Shea Longness' expression was a little strange. She didn't know who her daughter's father was. He seemed to be the prince of a country. However, Assyria in her memory didn't have this person. As the queen, after she died in the blood moon, the whole country of Assyria had long been extinguished and turned into historical dust. There must be a problem with how the prince gave birth to this child with her. However, there is nothing wrong with the feeling of the bloodline. This must be her daughter. This is the child who inherited her strength, even the ancient god's affinity. By the way, The ancient god who led the blood moon and peeped into Assyria from the abyss no longer exists. Because the first thing Shea Longness did after becoming the Sky Sword was to eat the ancient god, leaving nothing left. The price she paid for this was to replace the ancient god as one of the monarchs of the abyss. Yes, Shea Longness the Sky Sword of the Sky Sword's domain, is also one of the kings of the abyss. Her god weapon is an evolutionary demonic weapon made from the remains of the ancient god. She who gazes at the abyss is also gazed at by the abyss. The queen of Assyria, captured by the ancient god, has also become an ancient god. The ancient god who forced her to wear a bloody wedding dress and wanted to devour her to become a part of itself was eventually devoured by her. In order to defeat the ancient god, she completely abandoned the concept of human beings. The 1,000-year-old queen of Assyria has become Shea Longness the Sky Sword. Her daughter, who seems to have been favored by an ancient god since birth, is a born child of God. But Shea Longness is sure that she will not become a puppet dominated by ancient gods. This child, born with her rebellious genes, will never listen to others. The ancient god attracted by her may become her food sooner or later. However, her daughter's situation is different from hers. What she longed for was not the body of slime, but the body of a doll. It seems that this is an obsession, and it is also the clearest message her daughter left to herself in her dream. Since her daughter has such a wish, then as a mother, she will realize it for her. No matter how unreasonable that wish is, Shea Longness doesn't care. The Sky Sword is originally a group of extremely willful people, most of whom are absolutely paranoid. As a Sky Sword, Shea Longness is even more famous for being unscrupulous. You don't need to know that kind of thing. I just need an answer. Always proud and confident, this is the will of Shea Longness the Sky Sword. Can you do it or not? As the representatives of the Doll City, the three puppet masters looked at each other with absolute confidence. If creating a perfect soul is something that they can't do now, then creating a body for this perfect soul is what they can really do. It's just a doll with perfect appearance, which is absolutely no problem for these powerful puppet masters. Rather, it is a huge honor. Please give it to us. In exchange, we will give it the most perfect body. You will be satisfied at that time. I am honored to take up such a task. I really want to see the miracle of the combination of a perfect soul and a perfect body soon. There were sparks in the eyes of the three puppet masters, which was a sign of the continuous emergence of inspiration. Those who can become top puppet masters are all hopeless perfectionists. At this moment, the legendary perfect soul appeared in front of them, which was tantamount to leaving a little rabbit in the wolves. No puppet master will give up this once-in-a-million-year chance. Whether they can surpass the current limit and move further towards a higher field depends on this time. Assemble the materials. This is the master's choice. Moonlight branches are good things. It must be more than 1,000 years old to make a perfect doll that conforms to this soul, and the older the better. Release the highest level reward task to those mercenaries. I need some 3,000-year-old moonlight branches, the more the better. I remember there are still high-quality rubies in stock in the warehouse, exchanging obsidian of the same quality. Are there any transactions? With the arrival of Shea Longness, the whole doll city was boiling. On the originally calm street, one puppet master after another walked out of the house and began to go from house to house with the requirements of their respective owners, exchanging what they needed. Many people began to form alliances and couldn't wait to start the refining of dolls. The price of each material in the formula provided by Shea Longness began to rise, and the market of the whole doll city began to go crazy. Everything is for the perfect ultimate doll. In order to create a doll with a perfect soul and body, puppet masters can trample on all moral laws in the world and trade with all intelligent creatures. There is nothing they dare not do. Everyone has their own understanding of how to make a perfect doll. They can live in Doll City, which means that their skills have basically reached the limit of human imagination. What binds them is the seemingly ethereal but real soul. Puppets without souls, even if loaded with programs that can execute commands, are just puppets like the Walking Dead. Puppets with souls, no matter how they are created, are the real beauty, the fantasy pursued by puppet masters. From the moment Shea Longness brought the soul of the perfect doll, there was no difference between day and night in Doll City. Chapter 842. Sequelae. At this time, Yuanshi didn't know how the soul of White Moon caused an uproar in the distant Doll City. Now he was distressed by the strange eyes of the Starwings Knights at home. It's clearly the same morning and the same restaurant, but from the moment he stepped into this restaurant, Yuanshi could feel a lot of undisguised hot eyes. The Starwings Knights, everyone looked at Yuanshi coming in with a kind of eyes that wanted to talk but say nothing. For a second, Yuanshi felt that he was walking into the Shura field, not the restaurant of the Starwings Knights. Good morning, everyone. After checking the perfect disguise of Pafu, Yuanshi tried to pretend that nothing had happened and greeted the girls of the Starwings Knights with a smile. Good morning, May. The normally calm and generous leader of the Starwings Knights. For some reason, some couldn't look directly at May at the moment. It's May. Xiao Chao stared at Yuanshi from his hair to his toes, focusing on Yuanshi's chest, showing a strange smile. May, I can't get married. Ling Ling, as always, ran to Yuanshi, sobbing, and grabbed his hand. Last night, I had a strange dream. May in the dream has become a prince and likes. Speaking of this, Ling's cheek becomes like a ripe apple. Yuanshi breathed a great sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's not the worst situation. Everyone thought they had a strange dream. Well, in a sense, it's true. Let the past be the past, and the future is yours. It's really strange. The probability that everyone has similar dreams is almost non-existent. Mei Lan comforted Ling, and she was also confused. Her memory of what happened in the dream was also very vague, but she remembered a moment very clearly. That's her with Ling Ling, and a prince in a dream. Cough. Can't recall. Mei Lan, you are a serious girl. How can you do such shameless things? That prince wasn't Mei, but just looked similar to Mei. She must have something wrong with her mind. Is this the so-called Wanna man? Yes, I also dreamed of Mei who became a prince in my dream. Mei also defeated a very fierce dragon. Why, in my dream, Mei married the dragon. What's this? In my dream, I'm the lover of Mei. It's really shameful. Wait, me too. What a coincidence. I'm the Duke's daughter, one of Mei's childhood sweetheart. The girls of the Starwings Knights suddenly turned into chirping birds, enjoying the plot of the strange dream last night. Although everyone could only remember some small details in the dream, they also pieced together the outline of this incredible dream. Mei, in the dream, was the prince to whom fate belonged. The Starwings Knights in the dream were loyal to the prince. Finally, the Starwings Knights also launched a rebellion to protect Mei. Love, warfare, night, all kinds of events were intertwined. For the girls of the Starwings Knights, this was epic. Mei, Huayu, the leader of the Starwings Knights, looked at Yuanshi with meaningful eyes and then smiled. No matter what may happen to you, everyone will support you. Even if you're the prince. She must have seen something. Yuanshi, who had a hunch a long time ago, broke out in a cold sweat behind him. If it weren't for the Greatsword Maid's camouflage, plus Pafu filled the last weakness, he really didn't have the confidence to hide from the Starwings Knights in front of him. Moreover, recently, he found that the eyes of the Starwings Knights girls looked at him more and more wrong, which was not like looking at a maid. Enthusiastic and bold, hot and sweet, almost melt, full of happiness. The best proof of this is the connection between him and the Starwings Knights. These invisible lines were becoming closer and closer, which was proof that the fetters of the Starwings Knights and Yuanshi were constantly strengthening. Yuanshi himself didn't realize that his existence made the Starwings Knights constantly transform. The Starwings Knights now and the Starwings Knights when it just established are no longer at the same level. Everyone, it's just a dream. Even if he vaguely perceived something, Yuanshi was still making unnecessary efforts. Well, a good dream. I hope I can have such a dream next time. Mei was really handsome in the dream. That's the prince that will appear in the fairy tale, But why not defeat the dragon, but marry the dragon home? Because it's May, everything is possible. Yes, May's luck is the best blessing in the world. After accepting this setting, everyone was happy and elated. Only a few people looked at Yun, she sweating with ambiguous eyes. The eyes of Hua Yu were warm and doting. The eyes of Xiao Chao were extremely curious and even had a trace of expectation. Robin, who has just joined the league, has disdain on her face. She seemed to have seen through Yun Shi's big tail hidden behind him. Finally, little Mumu with a naive expression grabbed Yun Shi's small hand and directly asked for a reward. Give Mumu bread, or I will tell everyone the truth. Yun Shi quickly took out his treasured bread and blocked Mumu's mouth with it. Awu. Mumu, who was bought by the bread, was satisfied with Yun Shi's bread, and the traces of white cream on her mouth were indescribably cute. May, I want bread too. Without May's bread, I'll die. The meaning of living is to wait for May's bread in the morning. Today, the girls' dormitory of the Starwings Knights was also very peaceful and full of girls' love. Chapter 843. An impossible farewell. After the trial, Yunshi returned to his daily life in Sword Palace. In this trial, the harvest was many times more than the previous several times, and it could even be said that it was so much that Yunshi felt unreal. The Starwings, the ultimate sword from the future memory of the starry sky, defeated the original dragon and obtained a trace of divine seed condensed by a world's belief. This is not like the reward given by the third trial, and it is not too much to be the reward of the ultimate trial. Neither the divine seed of the sun god nor the Starwings were powers he could master at this stage. In particular, the Starwings. Once the magic sword releases its real power, it would become the ultimate power that shocked the world. Mayor, is this sword really okay? In a corner of the Sword Palace, Yun Shi summoned the Starwings. Looking at the magic sword that became more beautiful, he asked his star elf. There's absolutely no problem. This is the most suitable sword for you, master. Mayor raised her little paw, with an expression of, this is the truth of the world, which made Yun Shi suspicious. Master, you are the son of the great stars. Naturally, you can use the Starwings, which is located at the highest point of the starry sky. It's better to say that no one can use this sword except you. But I always think, this sword is too dangerous. Yun Shi couldn't describe the scenery he saw when he opened the door of the Starwings 3 times. For the first time, he saw the flying wings of the sun, like the golden red wings that were going to fly up to the 33 heavens. The second time, he saw the gentle and tolerant wing of life, leaving a unique flower in the world. For the third time, ominous black wings appeared, devouring the stars. No matter what kind of wings, they all have the power to transcend everything. But the problem is that except for the owner of the green wings, other wings are not controlled by Yun Shi at all. In particular, the black wings almost caused a more terrible disaster than the original dragon. If the twin witches hadn't taken out the golden balance to balance everything, the world of the dragon war would have been eaten by this one. The power of the Starwings is so powerful that Yun Shi can't control it at all. Originally he thought this was a divine sword with divine attributes, but now it seems that this is simply a big mistake. So if God would give an important task to a certain person, the first things he does is to temper his willpower, fatigue his muscles and bones, starve his stomach, and destitute his body. But victory must belong to the master, to the son of the great stars. Mayor pulled up her school bag, but completely avoided talking about the disadvantages of the Starwings. Woof, woof, woof. Mayor's 3 little attendants raised their claws together and shouted for Mayor. I don't think I'm that great. Yun Shi still cannot understand what the Star Child is. It seems very strong, but it seems very weak. It can contain all kinds of systems. No matter what kind of power, they all can be cultivated. The weak side is also obvious. His enemies are too strong to make him despair. A godlike enemy is enough. He has 4 such natural enemies. If his identity is exposed, even his teacher, Cassina the battle god, can't protect him. Master, don't worry. As long as you can grow and develop, you will eventually become invincible. Mayer continued. Then I have to grow up. Do you have any news about the apostle who hunt down here? For you and she, this is probably the most urgent problem. The white holy dragon? Ah, she should be seriously injured and in the incubation period. There is no news for her for a long time, and the alarm is temporarily lifted. The guardian of the sky sword god's domain here is still very awesome, and she will not allow that kind of outsiders to act recklessly. Master, you should be able to grow steadily for a period of time. Now that you have the equipment and skills, you can only wait for the level to come up. At that time, Master, you can do whatever you want, bully anyone as you want. Can I bully the white holy dragon? Yunshi thought of the shock of seeing the holy white dragon for the first time and felt that it was still unimaginable for him. In the whole sky sword god's domain, nothing can bully the horrible white holy dragon, the apostle of his ex-girlfriend dragon god. Just when Yunshi fantasized that he would one day hold the star wings and fight with the white holy dragon for 3 days and 3 nights, a familiar voice appeared behind him. I found you, Sha Xin. Sha Xin? Yunshi was in a trance for a moment, thinking of the wild and active bride in his dream. Well, illusion. It must be an illusion. Master, I have something to do, and I need to leave now. Mayer ran away directly, leaving only Yunshi with an ignorant face. Xin, Mom agreed to let us be together. It's great, this new world. Big drops of sweat fell on Yunshi's forehead. This voice, this character. No way, impossible. Why is he still dreaming during the day? How could people in dreams appear in the real world? Was he too relaxed now, so that he heard something that shouldn't exist? Xin, I'm back. A pair of small hands covered Yunshi's eyes from behind, smiling and making a happy sound. Guess who I am? I don't believe that. Yunshi's heart sent out a silent cry, but his body was honest and couldn't avoid this question. Because the person who asked this question was the third princess. In this world, there was only one person who would call him Xin. Desert Dragon Zaka? Yes, the great Desert Dragon Zaka is back. This world is really interesting. Much more interesting than the world we used to live. Biting Yunshi's ear, Desert Dragon Zaka, who just got permission from her mother to meet Yunshi, was immersed in deep love. For her, this is the best world. Her mother forgave them, and they could also see Yunshi again. It's like a dream. Yunshi pushed away her fingers in front of him a little bit, turned her head very stiff, and saw the smaller Desert Dragon Zaka. There's nothing wrong. Although the body has shrunk, the chest is still very big. He even knew every sensitive point of her body clearly, because he had been played with that soft body countless times. Chapter 844, Deja Vu Whisper, Why do you look at me like a ghost? Desert Dragon Zaka looked at Yunshi with puzzled eyes. Yunshi now only felt that he must be still in the trial world. Otherwise, how could he see Desert Dragon Zaka who simply couldn't appear in the real world? Aren't the 4 Zaka sisters the fantasy of the original dragon Huahua? Part of her dream. Then why does the living Desert Dragon Zaka appear in the White Lotus Sword Palace? Is he still dreaming? The dragon war world is already over. Zaka. Even though he could feel the temperature of Desert Dragon Zaka's skin, Yunshi still had a dull expression and couldn't believe it. Why did Desert Dragon Zaka really exist? Well, I'm back. Desert Dragon Zaka took Yunshi's hand and gently bit his fingers. This little action is the unique symbol of the intimacy between Desert Dragon Zaka and Yunshi. Compared with her sisters, Desert Dragon Zaka has a special tenderness. For the enemy, she is the most ruthless desert storm, while for her lover, she is the most gentle and lovely one. No matter what posture Yunshi wants to use, she will be curious and cooperate with him and enjoy it. On the wedding night, she also half-forced her sister Ice Dragon Zaka, and then played a 3-person pure love game with Yunshi. Wild and impulsive, curious and full of action, dare to love and hate. This is Desert Dragon Zaka, the eldest sister of the 4 Zaka sisters. However, Now her height had only reached Yuanshi's waist, and she bit Yuanshi's fingers with a red face. Why are you here? Yuanshi has begun to be confused about which side is his dream and which side is the reality. Could it be that he is still dreaming now? Well, we woke up our mother with you. Desert Dragon Zaka recalled the last battle with some embarrassment. Yes, we do. Yuanshi also remembered that in the final battle of the Dragon War World, he and the four Zaka sisters worked together to display the Ultima Dragon Roar Wave. At that moment, he could feel the love of the four Zaka sisters for him. Wild Desert Dragon Zaka, Calm Ice Dragon Zaka, Enthusiastic Red Dragon Zaka, and Silent Black Dragon Zaka. They all chose him, and even betrayed the powerful original dragon. Without their help, it was impossible to defeat the original dragon. After our mother recovered, she left the world and took us away. Now, she forgives us and brings us back to life. For Desert Dragon Zaka, the world of Dragon War was real, and their love with Yuanshi was not false. The Dragon War world is the place where they were born, fell in love, and even died. Every detail there, and every minute and second spent by Yuanshi, are their memories. The world was destroyed by the war between the original dragon and Yuanshi. They also ended their mission and returned to the embrace of the original dragon who left the world. This is the fate of Zaka sisters, and they have no regrets about it. However, they are still a little uneasy about betraying their mother. This is probably the biggest rebellion against the powerful original dragon made by them. However, just as a mother always unconditionally forgives her rebellious children, the original dragon also forgave the four Zaka sisters bred from her own character. Therefore, they who should have disappeared were reborn under the power of the original dragon Hua Hua, and in order, Desert Dragon Zaka was the first to be conceived, bearing the responsibility as the eldest sister. Hua Hua, she brought you back to life. Yuanshi was gape-mouthed. He knew that Hua Hua was very strong, but he didn't know that Hua Hua was so strong. The four Zaka sisters were just a part of her dream. No one will take their dreams seriously when they wake up. But Hua Hua obviously realized what happened in the dream, directly allowing Zaka sisters, the people who only exist in the dream, to appear in the real world. What a terrifying force it is. Is it true that the original dragon in the dream is not just an illusion in the dream? Hua Hua really has the power of the original dragon. If it was someone else, Yuanshi would never believe this absurd thing. But if the object was his own childhood sweetheart, Yuanshi had to admit that any miracle and impossibility were possible. Hua Hua is really the kind of person who can break all rules and trample on all common sense. She forgives you. Yuanshi's fingertips were shaking. My mother is always magnanimous. As long as she is not having nightmares, she is the cutest mother. Desert Dragon Zaka was enjoying the temperature of Yuanshi comfortably. Although Yuanshi was wearing the Great Sword Maid's clothes at the moment, she still smelled the familiar smell of Yuanshi. It was the taste of the negative distance contact between them, intoxicating and fascinating. Soon, my sisters will also be resurrected, and then we can be together again. As a part of the will of the Great Mother, we will not actually die as long as our mother is here. The biggest secret was revealed without any intention. Desert Dragon Zaka was as careless as ever. At the same time, she, who was the most skilled in physical cooperation with Yuanshi, quietly began to attack. Unlike Hua Hua, who was always too timid, Desert Dragon Zaka wanted to get closer to Yuanshi and enjoy skin intimacy with him. Compared with Hua Hua, she is the princess who has long entered the adult stage with Yuanshi. This is Desert Dragon Zaka, the unrestrained hot sand princess. Looking at the small Desert Dragon Zaka in his arms, Yuanshi imagined the scene after Ice Dragon Zaka, Red Dragon Zaka, and Black Dragon Zaka were all resurrected. No, I will certainly commit a crime at that time. Chapter 845. Shai Hua Hua. The world is full of criminals, but her eyes can see through all disguises. Yes, there is only one truth. Yuanshi, seduced by Desert Dragon Zaka, was about to lose control of himself and was about to become a criminal. No, I obviously want to be a gentleman, Yunshi told himself while resisting the attack of Desert Dragon Zaka. If he obeys his own desires here, it really will be over. Moreover, for some reason, since just now, Yunshi could feel some kind of terrifying chi locking himself in. Zaka, have you found little Shi? From the other side of the garden, the source of Yunshi's troubles came on stage. He took a cold breath. Fortunately, there is still time to stop. If Huahua comes a few minutes later, it will be too late. Found him. Desert Dragon Zaka obediently raised her hand and reported to her great original dragon mother. After being forgiven by Huahua, the dispute between Zaka and their mother automatically ended. Thanks to the Great Mother, her mind is broader than the ocean and wider than the sky. Huahua, this child. Yunshi looked at Desert Dragon Zaka in the real world with a tangled face. Why did what happened in the dream suddenly come to reality? This is wrong. Isn't the trial world a dreamlike fantasy? Why does Desert Dragon Zaka in the dream trial run out alive? Well, her name is Zaka, and she is a good child. Huahua looked at Yunshi with a blush. After sharing the memories of the 4 Zaka sisters, although they were not all complete, the parts of skin to skin were perfectly preserved. Perhaps, for the 4 Zaka sisters, this was a treasure that could never be forgotten and had been engraved in their hearts. Even if the dream was over and Zaka sisters once disappeared in the dream, but this memory was still saved. It was the memory of the Zaka sisters that Huahua was reluctant to let them be forgotten. In the dream, she was the ultimate creature name, the original dragon. And this original dragon was born based on her as a template. Therefore, she used her immature power to breed the Zaka sisters in the real world. Now, only Desert Dragon Zaka had been born, and the other 3 Zaka sisters needed some time to hatch. She realized the feeling as a mom in advance. These Zaka sisters are the crystallization of her love and a part of her. It gave Huahua unparalleled excitement. Maybe she was addicted, because, as the original dragon, she could share her senses with the Zaka sisters. So she knew what Desert Dragon Zaka did to Yunshi just now. That was something she couldn't do by herself. Now, in front of her, Desert Dragon Zaka was also making small moves. The little toe was stepping on Yunshi's body a little bit and rubbing a certain part. God, how could she do it so skillfully? In the end, how many things did she not learn in those memories? Just sharing, it's impossible to understand how happy Zaka sisters and her little Shi were in that dream. For her, these things that were not taught in textbooks were really beyond her imagination. Little Shi, have you had any strange dreams? After that wonderful night, Huahua seemed to grow up a little, and his eyes became more and more sweet looking at Yunshi. For Huahua, the Dragon War world was an incredible country. She fell in love with little Shi with 4 different personalities and identities, although she also vaguely realized that there seemed to be something wrong. In the dream, she was not only in love with little Shi, but also the enemy. However, the ultimate victory belonged to the great original dragon. Just like the prince awakened the sleeping princess with a kiss, when the 4 Zaka sisters and Yunshi used the ultimate dragon roar wave, the outcome was doomed. Huahua, who woke up, forgave the 4 Zaka sisters and Yunshi and woke up from her dream. However, the childhood sweetheart radar on the top of her head, for some reason, completely collapsed. It must be because the stimulation was too big. Huahua thought so. The rivals in the dream doesn't exist in the real world anyway, so now in a particularly good mood, she forgave Yunshi and brought Desert Dragon Zaka to him, wanting to know Yunshi's reaction. It was a strange dream. The dream of the prince fighting the dragon. After many difficulties and dangers, I finally defeated the dragon. It was a childish dream, wasn't it? Yunshi looked at Desert Dragon Zaka and Huahua with some guilt and said an answer that was not a lie. Well, it was really just the story of the prince fighting the dragon. It was a very common story that the prince defeated the dragon and saved the world. Sure enough, this must be fate. Huahua looked at Yunshi excitedly and didn't find that the hair clusters on her head were emitting green brilliance. My mother seems to be a little shy. Desert Dragon Zaka silently observed Huahua. The great, omnipotent original dragon mother seems to have fallen in love with the prince in the new world. As a Zaka, she had a premonition of this, because they were originally the embodiment of the original dragon's will. It is natural that the original dragon mother also likes the person they like. But why is the original dragon mother who gave birth to the 4 Zaka sisters so pure in this world? She is too shy. She probably doesn't even dare to kiss the prince. My original dragon mother can't be so useless. You know, even Black Dragon Zaka, the smallest and the most silent of the 4 Zaka sisters, has completed the achievement of skin to skin with the prince. It's really strange that the original dragon, who gave birth to the 4 Zaka sisters, is such a lady. Chapter 846 To make Atwish taught the holit tree at one twerk Lakethes, Great Mother. You obviously thave overwhelming power. Why tear you so shy? Why tear you so hesitant? Let me teach to you. Desert Dragon Zaka skillful it jumped Owen Tiyun she's shoulder, and thin put her feet on his neck, tots how hurt good pitching skills. Hey! Yunt she, caught off guard, 'twas knocked down Byte Desert Dragon Zaka. Come on T-Mom, come ton. Desert Dragon Zakat was high-spirited tand elated, tand extended their fingers stoward thet stunned huadhua. Sorry. To this child 'tis noddest taught the human twirled. Huadhua, flushed, picked up the willful tand reckless Desert Dragon Zaka, and tran away without looking back. Hey, Mom, twhy not? Tits obvious light a great opportunity. Just one step away Tayu can. Desert Dragon Zaka's complaining voice gradually faded away, tanned waist covered Byte Mit Princess, is still troublesome as always. Tiyun zitle on the soft grass inside. If it goes on like this, the wilt definitely commit a crime. T-Win Isid Dragon Zaka, Tread Dragon Zaka, Ant Black Dragon Zaka also come out, tit wilt be complete litover. I don't want to commit crimes in theatrial world. Fortunately, White Moon is not there. If that queen off to Syria and their daughter tin that dream world also comet out, it will bet that intof that world. Hathas not doubt that the wilt fight with Wahuatan that Zaka's sister stuntle theaterth breaks. Mayor, 'tis that lucky value toff that starchild very low? Event the princess in his dream can't come taught the real twirled. Yunt she was almost unabledo believed in life. Mastered this is just odd small problem. As long as you have star wings, Tayu don't thave be afraid toff anyone. Timeo return tan continueto chiryan zaitan. The third princess, that fourth princess or something, no problem. It didn't think it's a problem at all. If it goes ton Lakethes, ilt be finished sooner or later. Yunchi profoundly triviewed that big mistakes the matin thetrial off dragon tour. If het knew it, the would rather die a thousands off times in the forgotten truants thanterturn taught the kinked city. Mayor was to confident in himton believe it that, not matter what happened, het called Solvetit as the star child. That fact ist hat after the Fort Zaka's sisters came out, the had to feeling tough panic, as if the was sliding towards Stan abyss, leaving that world off gentleman forever. No, Tiff het continues Lakethes, his life wilt be on the road toff not return. He has to find a way. Those at 4 Zakat sisters are red incarnation toff huadhua, Lakita sweet trap that makes his desire uncontrollable. Their difficulty is 100 times thire than that off twahua. What can help them at this time? Bidway tif it ease it, maybe it can give Tadvis. In that white lotus sword palace, the secretrum. What on earth should I do? Tiyun zit looped expectant latat, that white ball toff light suspended in front of them, and poured out this trouble stirlessly. In fact, tits not hat it didn't Laketh Zakat sisters, but they era too younged. If him tempted bitham, it can't keep me head. It obviously licked wahwa, but they tear also part off wahwa. Ti can't turn at blind ieto them. Moreover, to know that Starwing's night stare looking tat met more and more strangely. It always felt that some changes era taking place in mid connection with their seeds. Did thee perceive it anything? Linga, can you solve this problem? The big twite ball toff light suspended in front of Yun she, Looking at this uninvited man speechlessly. It know that you have its supreme wisdom, and your petals can't make that impossible possible. Tiyun zit looked at light ball in front of them with hopeful eyes. Linga, the treetoff wisdom thidden in the deepest part off the world's straw line, tis thetrial body toff that white lotus secret treasure. Its petals can't modify that cognition off the world line and change that world. This is also thetanly treasurette yuns it knows that can modify reality. Since that four Zakat sisters have it come taught the real world, that holy treat linga naturali texts in the real world. This big twite sphere toff light is that shadow off holit tree lingotten thetrial world. If you can't help me, Ti wilt bring you the best treasure in exchange for your help. Tiyun zit vaguely remembered this exchange it with that holy treat linga in the dragon tour world, which was an equivalent exchange. Linga, that holy treat, longed for the brilliant stuff that wings off life. Sadik Gavit Yun Zeta Petaltoff, that white lotus secret treasuretto helped them realize this wish. Now Tiyun Zit wanted top make at wish taught the holit tree Lingadigan. After being Harasetbi Yunt Shi overt and overt again, Lingat finally couldn't help it. That students oft white lotus sword palisetho cometo thistrum were tall regarded tit as the highestly thing. Antit can't indeed bet called one toff Thethagus level trelix oft sk white e sword god st domain. Perhaps with simple force, tit can tevin pinchdan anto death, but ithis that power oftenless wisdom had human beings can reach. It has to always be admired, and this is the first time ithis met a person like Yunt Shi, who'd always need stand rubstit, and tevin sleeps done it is a pillow. Now, it's really unbearable. When did that greet white lotus secret treasure, bet regarded as a love it counseling machine? You twant solution stand theatability, tot resist temptation. Yes, TOF course. Let me show to you that power oft white lotus secret treasure. This is the ultimate solution ta desire, which comes from supramet power oft Buddhism. Yunt Shi looked at that white light ball suddenly showing thethandriting in surprise, and tread thetext titlet hat suddenly appearing on tit, the supramet demon truet kerd. If it didn't go hell, to wilt go tot hell? Zero correct, woman is emptiness is woman, evilt against evil. Chapter 847, to the Paranormitat Vasavartan Scroll, Thetaman oft heaven, Thet incarnation oft self in heaven, Thet collection oft all desires tin Thet world. In ancient times, there was at Sakyamuni sitting tunder Thetwin trees, tand het didn't move a twin encountering wonderfultance off the demons. The realized sixth great magical powers, Anton thousand tharmas couldn't third him. If do you want freedom and purity, you twill seat demons. Oh, Oto. Alt hot yun zit didn't understand, the nodded. Thist, Paranormita Vasavartan Scroll, Istavarikriat thing, tan may tevin bet the highest levelt secret hathas ever been exposeto. Those what want ta cultivate thist method need to, have it great determination tan perseverance seto enter thel first. As the saying goes, if di don't go tot hell, what goes tot hell? If do you wanto subdued demon stand achieve it great purity, ta you must first incarnated demons. Well, there's nothing wrong with that hat. This is indeed highest divine power tof Buddhism. To the big twite light ball looked at thetek-sided Yunt Shi with pitiful eyes. However, tit wilt not deliberate teletramind himt hat in the history tof Buddhism, those cultivators two cultivate this, alt became mad. This thing is not atmethod for human cultivation at all. T even thoset cultivators failed to resist temptation tof that demons. You really think you can resist it? If you can resist temptation tof that demons, that temptation off just it fuse a casties nothing. It's see. There it is sucked away. Tafter seeing record stuff that Paranormita Vasavartan Scroll, Yunxi's vision suddenly become clear. Yes, that's right. As long as the cultivatest Paranormitat Vasavartan Scroll, the wilt no longer thave top worry about anything. Paranormita Vasavartantis, a kind oft demon that can, even seduce gods. If can't even ignoreth temptation tof thetamins, het can naturally ignore the temptation oft Fort Zaka sisters. Well, just cultivateth paranimitat vasavartan scroll. Yuntshi began to carefully tread thet cultivation method tof that paranimita vasavartan scroll. However, thet more het looped, thet more strange this expression became. What thet big white light balt showed wastonly at part off the introductory chapter off the paranirmitat vasavartan scroll, tan thet latter part didn't appear. T obviously, Yuntshi was not qualifieto seated now. However, Tevin ifted istanly thet introductory part, tid istworthy off the name tof that paranirmita vasavartant. It is impossible for normal people to complete it. Really? Tis this waitoff cultivation? The big twite light ball looked cold atham. If you don't want to cultivate it, you can't just give tup. You'd better get away and never disturb mit peaceful life there again. If you want to practice this skill, you must first. Yuntshi looked at that words written ton that paranirmita vasavartan scroll and frowned. Ding. At 6 mask was thrown out toff that big whited ball off light. Anthe meaning 'twas obvious. Either twere thist mask, ta cultivate thet introductory chapter toff that paranimita vasavartan scroll, or didn't bother tit again. Alas, tits really there's not way. Yuntshi picket up thist prop, which is said to but necessary for cultivating that paranimita vasavartan scroll. Do it cultivate it or not? If they've not choice buto got ahead. Yunzit never thought that first step to cultivating this supermit magic power twas Lakethes. That big white light balt looped coldly tat yunt she what finally puttin thet mask, a stiff het was for sedto enduretsamething. After yunt she left, the white soft ball toff light began ta troll around tan jumped around at the secretrum happily, like a big white marble. This damned boy final it left. Just where that mask tan gato cultivateth paranirmitat vasavartan scroll. It's impossible for human beings to finish learning it in this life, haha. There was a small wooden house in the corner toff whited lotus sword palace. Some sword palace disciples soon found this strange wooden house. They can't be sure it had that wooden house it didn't exist yesterday, as if it suddenly appeared there. Not everyone is qualified to build buildings in white lotus sword palace. To Keth surrounding Teria, oft white lotus sword palace is an example. Recently, Tu taught the new stuff that White Lotus secret treasure, the real to state Pricethir has sword. That closer it is taught the White Lotus sword palace. That more Krazith priced is, and the highest price hey Stephen Risson thundreds off times. However, event if you'd pay 1,000 times the price, Tayu can't buy 1,000 the White Lotus sword palace. This is Thetan spoken Roltoff that sky sword god's domain. To the sword palace int the sword tip Ariatus not allowed top be set food int by init mortals. Those businessmen, Tevin if thee were it extremely rich, who'd not buy theatrial estate toff, that sword palaced with money. Being tabletop build 1,000 the whited lotus sword palace istanoff, tot represent thad owner toff this wooden house thas at special relationship with that white lotus sword palace. Well, tit's not wrong tot say so. To the owner toff this wooden house does have a special relationship with White Lotus Sword Palace. Top be exact, this teacher, Tikasina that battle god, tis that boss off the White Lotus Sword Palace. Antonov Supermetsky sword staff this guy's sword god's domain. Asked for the treason why the built such odd small wooden house. It stab out that paranimita vasavartan scroll. If you twant tot leave that mortal world, you must first enter the mortal world. If you twant tot get rid toff that mortal world, you must first experienceth mortal world. After seeing tall thet flowers, natural ither is nothing in your heart, pure and complacent. Zero correct well. This is thet first step toff thet training in the introductory chapter off the paranirmitat vasavartan scroll. Tot listen tot the trouble stuff all things in the world. Tot this in. Tiyun zithad, tot put onto masked, tot listen tot the voice off girls. Why does it limited tot young girls? Tiyun zitdoisen understand. Anyway, this is the inspiration givinto himped by thet greet, white at lotus hole at tree linga. If do you want to practice this skill, you must first look at that myriad sentiments in that world. Attract paranimitat vasavartan disaster, summon demonstinto thist world. Thet fearless and ignorant Yunshi, silent light-recited T stand bravely embarked on the road to summoned demons. Chapter 848, T-Heart asking cabin finally. Yunshi found a weight from Robin's divination. The result is Thist, heart asking, cabin, where the Usedto Maketh masked off demons. That first stepped off cultivating Paranermitat Vasavartan scroll tis tot make it mask that belongs tot you. The six-site mask evento Yunshi bith big twite lightball is just a whiteboard. Tan thet task Yunshi hasto complete is tot fill thet emotions hathis realized tinto Thist demon mask. Everett demon ost a different posture, and Thier wilt not bet the Semetaman masked in Thist world, just as their twill neverp thet same tutmans in this world. Thet nature off Paranermitat Vasavartan is the magical power, tot open the ultimate cataclysm tof desires. If you can't pass it, nothing can't shake your will again. If you can't pass it, you wilt be swallowed by demon stand turn it into dust. If you don't succeed, you twill die. In the past, cultivators opened Paranermitat Vasavartan, scrolled with great determination, perseverance, and wisdomto sacrificeth themselves. Well, this does nothing to dot with Yunshi. Het duisent openth Paranermitat Vasavartan scrollto cultivatita Buddhist golden body. For teenagers, thetrable off love ist much more at serious. Wearing Thet mask off demon, Yunshi built this hard-asking cabin in Thet corner off Sword Palace by himself. Then the starteth cultivation toff that Paranermita Vasavartan scroll into weight hat, can't make countless cultivators dumbfounded. After thesitating for a while, Tamong Thetsword Palaset disciples, summonet finally stewed tup and topen Thet door off heart esking cabin. Welcome, to this is the placeto listinto troubles. Tear you trapped bite love? Yunxi's expression twas very strange. Fortunately, this facet was covered be Thet's excite mask, otherwise the wood thave be exposed. It istalmost inevitableto have it more contact with women tif, you twant tot cultivate that Paranimita Vasavartan scroll. The cultivation tof Thist Buddhist cultivation method is streely strange. Hard-esking, sadis ist what it means. Thet girl who topen Thet door suddenly realized. This ist also at small skilt yun zit learned from Paranermitat Vasavartan scroll. Tif a person is not bothered by love, the person twill subconsciously ignore the existence off this cabin. In t'other words, the people two can't see Thet cabin arid, basically suffering from their feelings. Yes, I've it been very tupsit recently, T holding hurt braid. Thet girl naturalit believed Yunshi. Hotek suited it soft breath. Thet cabin, asked the owner twith that mysterious six-die mask, brought hurt over it comfortable atmosphere. Sitting tin Thist cabin, Hurtmud suddenly becomes relaxed, Tan Shet instinctively wanto talked about something. Mitname is the UN. If they've summianet I like. T like Thet troubles that tall girls tooled have, the girl named Zayuant begin tot tell Yunshi her troubles. I'm not from that White Lotus sword domain, but from Ghost sword domain. My cultivation method is the art of ghosts, and it should not be attracted to human beings. My bodit does an event have a third beating, tan their tear not weak points. Ts longtas that ghost contracted with metdoisant die, ti can't revive event if item cutinto minute pieces. This is the price it hat must be paid to in herith ghost sword. If they've long been prepareto turnt myself in tota demon. But why am ti sop moved now? Zayuant looked attun zit with confused ties and said her trouble. How do he note why you tare moved? Tiyun zit showed a confused looked on his face. He instantly 16 tires, and it is to difficulto solve this kind of girlish problem. What attracts dia tot the person you like? Tif you didn't understand it, you thave tot pretend tot understand it. T when you reach this point, you thave tot go up. It's probably that long black there. It can smelt countless blood from that hair. Although Shet looks very quiet, imp sure sheest carrying countless blood ant killings. If it can, it went totsi her true side tan see their krazatand blood, thirsty Luke after tearing off their disguise. Under the maid's uniform, Shet must high data weapon theer. Imcertain. Ziyuan's facet was intoxicated, but that content of their words made Yunshi sweat. Made stuniform, long black hair, ta weapon hidden under the skirt. Can't it be sucked a coincidence, can it? Ist it may? Tiyun zit never expected that sucked a big problem would terrorize from first visitor taught the cabin. Yes, she hast incredible black there, and his seto beta blessed thurl. I like their black straight hair, tanned it went tot weave that most beautiful tamulet with their hair, so that I can't summon more terrible and terrifying ghosts. Just looking at hat smooth black long there, it can't bear it. Obviously, Ti haven't been human for at long time, Ti just can't help twanting her. That ghost powerton mit body ist boiling. And I like their more tan more, but it can't find a suitable tway tot get closeto her. If this goes ton, one day it will lo set control oft meself. Can you tell me 'tis this love? Ziyuan pressed hurt hard and showed at pitiful expression. No, tits on lit because you read a pervert. Yunshi wanted to shout out loudly, but headfinally endured tit. This is the first guest tot his hard-asking cabin. The can't let his disguised imaget collapse soon. Yes, imagine, timagene, item at mysterious strong person. Yunshi quickly recalled that figures off legend trank strong people hetnu in his mind. Kasanath Batlik god? No, she's that type that will rot in atmos after getting drunk. Ouroboros? She is also at drunk fool. The second drunkard. Hydra that water god? Tino. After 10,000 years off sleep, the first thing shetted after chwoked up wasto fint herself at bride. Shea longness? That's event worse. She is a monster that will destroy the world. Zero correct yunt high that sky sword? The through tout a question oft, whether there is at cat. And this hast made countless scholars in the endless gods' domains crazy. Under this gentlemanlike appearance, Hedis and especially Bat Prankster, the whited holy dragon, Tishi is the dragon god's apostle Thuho Kamet from Tearing Void. Ti now thir toot little. Finally, Yunshi Almastri called all the legend dranket people het knew about, tan fountainly one object that cowled bet imitated. The dim shadow hath is dreamed off many times. That protector though has stood in front of the SK White E Tower 4,000 oft years. Lilibet that ice blue it sword holder, you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.